Christina Way is suing her former friend, Ronald Matt Carroll, for injuries to her 6-year-old daughter, Tiffany, resulting from a go-kart crash.
Now, this is case number 70 on the calendar in the matter of Way versus Carroll. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Way, it is your claim that Mr. Carroll was using one of those bumper cars.
A go-kart.
Go-kart. At a
Amusement facility.
And you were not present.
No, I wasn't.
But your daughter was present.
My daughter was present.
Your daughter was there with a friend?
With my sister-in-law, her aunt.
And it is your claim that Mr. Carroll bumped into her and that he injured her.
Correct.
And you want him to compensate you. Mr. Carroll says he absolutely did not do that.
Correct.
Okay, so why don't you step up because you're the only one who was there. Tell me your name.
Rhonda Way.
All right, Miss Way. You took your niece to the amusement park?
Yes, I did.
And these go-karts are in a confined area?
Yes, they are.
Really, we used to call them bumper cars. Is that what they are?
They
have...
No, they're driving go-karts. They're
not
not
It's
bumper
like on a
cars.
racetrack, a go-kart.
Like a track, yeah.
Gas-powered.
Do they have things around the cars so that they sort of cushion the blow?
No.
Yes. Yes. They have a steel framework around them.
Steel frame? No. What about rubber?
No.
No, it's not one of those ones that would be in the, like a confined ring that bump each
Right.
other with the thing that drives it around.
Right.
No, they're free driving vehicles.
And everybody goes very fast?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a race.
Yes.
It's a race.
How old is your daughter?
She's 6.
Not too smart to put her on that kind of a ride.
Your Honor, she was the passenger in the seat with me.
I don't care whether she was a passenger in the seat or driving. It's not too smart to take her in one of these cars. There are rides specifically set up for little children. So I wouldn't take mine on one of those cars. I don't know whether you would have taken your
I
daughter.
probably wouldn't have, no.
No, because it's just not smart. Do they wear helmets?
No.
No.
And these are open cars.
No.
No.
There's a roof that comes over the top, and they latch it in, and you're seat belted in.
Didn't prevent her from becoming injured.
No, it didn't.
That's why you don't take her. All right, so you exercised poor judgment in taking her as a passenger in this car. Tell me what happened.
Her and I get in the car together, and Mr. Carroll and his son get in.
You knew each other.
Yes, we do. He's my husband's best friend.
Go ahead.
They get in the car behind us, and we start the race, and about, I'd say, a couple laps into it, all the cars get stopped completely, and it's apparently due to the fact that he was spun out on the track. So they had to restart the whole race. Come time for the end of the race, we go into the dock, and we're waiting to be let out of the vehicles. You have to wait for all of them to get in for safety reasons and be parked completely at a stop before they'll let you out. And we're stopped, and he comes in behind us and hits us, and that's the point of the injury.
Okay. You were facing forward, so how did you know it was his car that hit you?
I turned around and saw that it was him, because I immediately thought to myself that that wasn't correct, that happened. It says on the steering wheel, no bumping.
Okay. Did you say anything to Mr. Carroll?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to him?
I told him that I thought after we got out of the vehicle, I thought that he was a jerk for doing what he did.
And what did he say?
He just laughed, and we bantered back and forth because we were
Well, I
racing
want to hear what
each
the
other.
banter was.
He was upset because he said this little kid spun him out on the track previously, and he was trying to catch up with us. He was just upset about the fact that...
No, don't tell me what you think. Tell me what he said to you, Miss Way. I only want to know what he said to you.
He just...
If you don't remember, you can tell me I don't remember what he said. But you had a conversation with
Yes,
him.
we did.
I think it was more of just a bantering back and forth.
It was.
I don't know what bantering means. I want to know what was said.
I won. No, you didn't.
No,
know.
you weren't there.
No, I wasn't. I was just giving you an
Fine.
example of what bantering would mean to me.
Okay, Mr. Carroll, let me hear your version of the events, sir.
Mine's a lot clearer than that. I was in the back of the race most of the time, so I said I've seen everything that went on during the whole race. There was 2 times there was stoppage completely on the track, and the first one was from the wreck that they were in. I'm assuming. I couldn't honestly tell you for sure if
Then
that was
don't,
their car.
They
then
weren't
don't
in a
tell
wreck.
me anything.
Okay, but there was a wreck. There was a pileup in front of us, and their cart was the one that was ahead of us. And I was almost for sure it was them because I was trying to catch them. We were in a race. And the little kid who was behind me, as I was coming around the corner, he spun me out.
How did he spin you out?
He caught me behind my left tire and between the wall as I was coming around the corner. And it was a pretty good move, actually. And he spun us out. He spun us out, and when he did, he went past, and that's when I seen him go into the pileup. And I can't honestly say who was all in the pileup. I wasn't really paying that close
I'm not
attention.
interested in the pileup. They were stopped at the finish
Well, that's when I think the injury
line.
occurred, if there was one.
Just a second.
Okay.
I just want you to tell me your version of the race. Okay, there was a pileup.
Right.
You thought it was hurt, but I want to get to the finish line.
All right. Then we continued the race. They started everybody up, and I was trying to catch up with them again. At that point, I was pretty much last. And we was coming around to it was like the third turn from the end, and this little kid got me again. He spun me out exactly the same way, and that stalled out my go-kart then, and his. And everybody else continued on and finished up the race, pulled in. Well, the guy had to run out there and restart my go-kart and the kids and turn us around, and we came in. And as we pulled in, we seen them standing on the side. They were standing on the side. I stopped a foot behind the go-kart. I mean, not only did I not hit them in the back, nobody did, because I pulled up behind that go-kart.
Okay. Now, Miss Way, how many times were you involved in a pileup?
None.
You mean during the course of the race you had no contact with any other car?
If we bumped to the side during passing, maybe once or twice. Maybe
well,
once
that's
or,
what I'm asking
But not
you.
a pileup.
How many times did you have contact with another car?
During the race or after? Because after the
Both.
race, okay, I would say 4.
And when you have contact going at what speed?
I'm not sure how fast the vehicle goes, but I had it floored.
So fast.
Yes,
Certainly faster than you were going when you were at a dead stop.
correct.
So there were 4 times when your daughter could have been injured.
No, I don't believe that she was injured.
No,
at
listen
that
to
time.
me. I don't care what you believe. Your sister-in-law says that the car was hit 4 times.
Not from the rear.
I don't care whether it's from the rear or not.
That's what caused the injury, was a rear.
No, I don't know that at all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is there were 4 times when your daughter was in the go-kart was hit.
Right.
Going full speed.
Correct.
That's 4 times opportunity to be injured. Now, would you come up here, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you only got hit once by Mr. Carroll.
Yes,
She says you got hit twice.
I think she's confused.
And later today,
You co-signed on a loan, too?
I co-signed on the car for her. I was being too generous.
You were not a very good judge of character.
No, ma'am.
Neither was your son.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina May claims her 6-year-old daughter, Tiffany, was injured due to Ronald Matt Carroll's actions on a go-kart track. Christina claims Matt purposely crashed his go-kart into Tiffany's.
Tell me your name.
Tiffany.
Tiffany, do you remember being in the go-kart? Okay. Were you frightened? Had you been in the go-kart before? Do you remember that day when you were in the go-kart?
Sunday.
Were you going really fast?
I kind of fast.
And you weren't frightened? Do you remember the go-kart being hit? How many times was it hit when you were going around the track?
One time.
Just one time? Was the go-kart going fast when you were hit? Did you see who hit your go-kart? Who was that?
Matt.
Who's Matt? That man? And your go-kart was moving when that happened? What happened when you stopped?
When we stopped, he came right behind us and he hit a go-kart. My head went forward and went all the way back.
So that was the second time that Matt hit you. Is that right? And you're sure that Matt hit you twice? Did somebody tell you that Matt hit you twice?
My aunt that went behind and it was him.
Your aunt looked behind and it was him. So your aunt told you it was him. Why don't you have a seat? Now, Miss Way, you didn't tell me that you got hit twice by Mr. Carroll.
We didn't get hit twice.
So you only got hit once by Mr. Carroll.
Yes,
She says you got hit twice by Mr. Carroll.
I think she's confused.
I think you shouldn't have taken her in the go-kart.
I see that.
That's what I think. If you adults want to go in the go-kart, that's your business. But to take these children and place them at risk, They're not having a good time. I guarantee you she was not having a good time.
No, she wasn't. She was in a neck brace for 5 weeks because of this.
Well, she was in the neck brace for 5 weeks because of somebody. I'm not sure who it was, but it was because of somebody. The person that I know is at fault is her.
Well,
Now listen to me very carefully, my dear. The person I know is at fault is her.
I understand that.
Good. He doesn't get any medals either for taking his daughter
I understand
in a
that.
go-kart.
I
However,
understand that.
I don't think that he's an idiot, other than the fact that they're both idiots for putting these children at risk. And I don't think he would do anything purposely to place his daughter at risk by crashing into your go-kart.
His daughter wasn't in the car with him. His son was in the car with him.
Same difference.
What difference does it
I
make? You mean he likes the daughter better than he likes the son?
No.
I'm going to tell you whose fault this was. Hers. If he banged into the car, according to your witness, 4 times she was hit during the course of that race.
She wasn't rear-ended, though. And
Listen to me. You can make any excuse you like. You're not paying attention, madam.
I am paying attention.
You're not paying attention, madam. 4 times she was hit.
I understand.
The first time she was hit, I would have taken my charge back and say, I am not going to put this child at risk because this is not right. She chose not to do that. She chose to get hit once, according to her, not according to your daughter, but once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and go and finish the race.
Right.
So the only thing I'm sure about is that she did the wrong thing by placing this child at risk.
I think that she has done the wrong thing by taking her on the ride, but I just wanted to state what my daughter told me after the scenario of the incident.
Don't tell me what your daughter told you. She just answered my questions. And what your daughter told you is hearsay.
Okay.
What she told me was that she didn't see who hit her, but that her aunt saw who hit her and told her who hit her. That's what she just told me. Now, that may be true. That may not be true. But that's what she told me.
Okay.
So I'm not satisfied, Miss Way. I'm satisfied that your daughter was injured. You say she was in a neck brace for 4 weeks. That's because of her aunt. It may be because of his actions, but I'm not convinced that it's because of his actions. I'm convinced that it's because of her aunt taking her on a ride that she had no business taking her on. So if you want to be angry with somebody, be angry at her. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may stand.
When she woke up in the morning, she was in a lot of severe pain.
I had no idea then at that time they were that certain it was me.
She had structures from C1 to C5 were damaged.
But I was concerned about the kid being hurt, you know. So I wanted to know she was all right.
And was in a C-collar, rigid C-collar for 5 weeks.
I would never have done this and then not admit to it at all.
No, I don't think that he did it on purpose. I think that it was something that happened, and I just wanted him to take responsibility for what occurred.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chris versus Morin. Step forward, please.
Mary Chris and her son Jason are suing Jason's ex-fiancée, 23-year-old Angelina Morin, for a loan to buy a car and the return of an engagement ring.
Mr. Chris, this is your mom,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is your former fiancée.
Yes, ma'am.
You want your engagement ring back.
Yes.
And she says she has it, you could have it back. Bird, would you take it from her and give it to him? She doesn't want it, she just didn't want you to come and get it. Good. Now you can sit down. It is your claim that you loaned Miss Morin
Yes, ma'am.
money for the down payment on a car for her.
Yes, ma'am.
That is while she was engaged to your son.
It was before they got engaged.
Before they got engaged. And she was married at the time that she became engaged to your son. She subsequently reconciled with her husband, and you want the loan back.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Morin says that this was a gift to her. There was never any discussion of the repayment of a loan. It only became a loan when she went back and reconciled with her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date did you advance this money to Ms. Morin for the down
November
payment on a car?
25th.
Let me finish
Oh,
my
I'm
question.
sorry.
On what date did you advance money to Ms. Morin for the car?
On November 25th, 2005.
And on what date did you reconcile with your husband?
Sometimes in the end of January, ma'am. Middle of January, sorry.
Within 60 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Who has the car?
I do, ma'am.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a 2004 Mitsubishi Lancer.
Did you have a car before?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a car did you have?
A 96 Honda Accord.
Why did you get a new one?
I was just looking to get another car, so it would help take some of the miles off of the other vehicle.
Now, who did you go to look for a car with?
With Jason Chris.
And you weren't engaged at the time?
No, ma'am.
You went to the dealership?
Yes, ma'am.
And you needed more money for a down payment?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you didn't have enough credit to
Yes, ma'am.
get a smaller down payment?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call his mother?
No, ma'am.
Who called his mother?
Jason did.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you do for a living, Miss Chris?
I'm a waitress.
Who else lives in your house?
My husband, my daughter, my granddaughter, and my son.
What does your husband do for a living?
He just got a new job. He's drives parts for a car company.
Your daughter lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And granddaughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Who supports them?
Their husband. They had sold their home, and they moved in with me until they buy a new home, which is in the process right now.
So, do you live in your own home?
I rent.
And how long have you worked as a waitress?
And the job I'm at now, I've been there for 25 years. I have been a waitress for 40 years.
Now, how much money did your son need when he called you?
Well, there was no talk of down payment on a car or anything. They wanted me to come down, because I know the general manager, to help her see if we can get a better deal for her car. And they told her the best they could do was $2,000 down. She said she didn't have it. They talked it over, asked me. I said, let me talk.
Who asked you?
They both did.
Go ahead.
And they said, let me talk it over with my husband. He said, whatever I decide is fine. I let her know I just paid this card off. I don't owe any money on it. I'll put the $2,000 down, but you have to make the payments. And when you sell your Honda, because she told me she was going to sell the Honda, then you pay the card off, interest and all. She said, that's fine. And in January 8th, she had given me a payment of $100. And that was the last time I seen her or any of my money.
What kind of paperwork do you have there?
Just the registration.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Moore?
I'm a dispatcher, ma'am.
How long have you done that?
For a year.
Who is this?
My husband.
What does he do for a living?
He's a mechanic.
Does he work?
Yes, ma'am.
Full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
One and one on the way.
The child lives
Yes,
with you?
ma'am.
Good. And you have this car?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did she give you for a down payment?
$2,000, ma'am.
You think she has a lot of money?
No, ma'am.
You paid her $100 back?
No, ma'am.
You paid her nothing back?
No, ma'am.
She says you paid her $100 back.
No, ma'am.
Well, you paid $100 on the card.
No, ma'am.
Didn't. Good.
Judge Judy, I have...
listen to me.
Oh, no. This is concerning the car. They're coming after me for money on the car. She hasn't made the payments. She's late. They're calling me at work.
You co-signed on a loan, too?
I co-signed on the car for her. My name is on the co-signed card. I was being too generous.
Miss Chris, unfortunately, I can't help you with regard to that. We have a limited jurisdiction here. You are not a very good judge of character.
No, ma'am.
Neither was your son. You're suing her for $2,800, which includes the engagement ring, which your son now has.
Yes.
The other $2,000 is for the down payment on the car. The $2,000 that you loaned to her, you're going to get back.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you have your choice. Either I will cut an order, madam. Listen to me very carefully. Turning the car over to the plaintiff so that she can sell it and get her money back, or you return this money to her. That's your choice.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your choice?
I'll keep the car, ma'am.
I am going to keep the registration on your car until I am satisfied that you've made all the payments and that you have insurance on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, you don't get it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you better get that fast.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Thank you.
Customer service rep Cindy Blankenship is suing her ex-boyfriend, contractor Robert DiFrancesco, for rent and for trying to strangle her. Cindy claims the assault took place at the end of their month-long drug binge.
Yes, this is case number 374 on the calendar in the matter of Blankenship versus DiFrancesco. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Blankenship, according to what I read, you and the defendant met at a bar, and he came home with you the same evening and stayed for a while. And according to your complaint, you had an agreement with him that he was going to pay you rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he stayed with you, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. He didn't pay any rent. And then you got into some sort of an altercation with him and claimed that he assaulted you.
Yes.
Mr. DiFrancesco says there was never an agreement to pay you rent, that he spent 5 months in jail because you made false charges of assault against him. He was ultimately released, and you want a certain amount of money for rent and $1,500 for this alleged assault.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Okay. On what day did you meet Mr. DiFrancesco?
It was the beginning of May.
In the evening?
Yes.
And you met him for the first time?
Yes, I did.
And he came home with you?
Yeah, we ended up going to my house. We were going to have a drink at my house. 3 days later, he's still at my home.
Okay, 3 days later, did you say? Well, 3 days later, I assume you let him stay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now tell me about this agreement that you allege about rent.
Well, as I said, 3 days later, he was still at my house. He informed me that he didn't have any place to go. He had just gotten out of jail, which I wish I had known that, or else if I had, I wouldn't have let him come to my home. Told me he had nowhere to go, and we had both decided, let's try a fast, instant relationship, see what happens. Told him he wasn't going to live with me for nothing. He said he was a hard worker. He had no problem paying me $125 a week. The 30 days that he was with me, he worked maybe 2 days. All of his money went on cocaine. So that's what basically he felt that he was going to be doing at my house. And towards the end of it, I said I had enough.
Now, towards the end of it, I had enough is what I want to hear about, the night of this alleged assault. I'd like you to tell me in your own words what happened, Miss Blankenship.
We had been drinking at my house that day.
You do a lot of drinking?
Yeah, we had been out.
And he does a lot of drinking?
Yeah.
Do you also do drugs, or you just drink?
I didn't get back into drugs until I hooked up with Bobby.
So then the answer is So then the answer is for the 30 days that you were together in your house, you were both drinking and doing drugs?
Yes.
And I assume he was purchasing the drugs?
No, I was. He didn't have any money.
Okay, so you were purchasing the drugs and giving it to him?
Basically, we were doing them together.
No. If you bought them and gave them to him. Is that what you're telling me? Oh. So tell me about the last night that you were together, the night of this alleged assault.
We had been out at one of the local bars drinking. We got I believe it was a 12-pack, went back to my house. When that was all done, we went back out drinking. I suggested that we get something to eat. I was going to get Chinese food. He said, fine, went home. I was getting the food ready, putting it on plates and everything. I turned around. Bobby's leaning up against the counter with his pants down to the floor, offering me something other to eat than the Chinese food.
And?
I was quite appalled by this whole thought at the moment. I went into the living room. I sat down. I figured I'd try and calm down for a few minutes. I went into the kitchen. He's now eating the Chinese food.
By this time, he's dressed himself?
Yeah.
And he's eating the Chinese food?
Yes.
And what happened?
I asked him if he wanted some rice with the food, and I threw a box of beef fried rice at him.
So you assaulted him with the rice?
No, I threw the rice at the floor.
No, your hand motion was...
Well, I threw the rice, but it wasn't at him physically. It was at the floor.
Well, that's not what you say in your complaint, by the way. You say that you started to throw the Chinese food at him.
In his direction.
In his direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what happened after you were throwing the Chinese food in his direction?
Well, I ended up asking him if he needed some sweet sauce with it. After that, we ended up getting into an argument. It boiled down to I was sitting at a chair at the kitchen table trying to figure out what we were going to do with this relationship. We got into an argument. He lunged over the kitchen table, grabbed me by the throat, and started to strangle me.
Miss Blankenship, you left something out, madam, that you put in your complaint. And that was that there was a time that Mr. DeFrancesco just said, I want to get out of here. And that was before you started with the food fight.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to go to the door to leave and get his clothes and leave. And you say in your complaint that you prevented him from leaving.
I, for whatever stupid reasons, didn't want him to take his clothes at the time. I felt that he owed me money for being there, and I figured that we'd straighten it out at some other time.
So you blocked the door?
I blocked the door.
And it was after you blocked the door that he lunged at you?
Shortly after that.
Now, you called the police and had him arrested.
When I could get to a phone, I called the police. He ripped the phones out of the wall.
Now, when did you finally get to the police?
After I got his hands off my throat.
Okay. So he took his hands off your throat, you called the police, and I assume you let him leave at that point.
I didn't let him leave. He went running out the door. This is after he pulled the alarm system out of the wall. I tried calling 911 from 2 telephones. He kept pulling the phones out of my hand, pressing the off button.
At that
so
point, I
I
assume, Miss Blankenship, that you were ready to let him leave.
Yeah.
Now, what hospital did you go to?
I didn't.
So if you didn't go to a hospital, I assume you weren't injured.
I was injured, but there wasn't anything that I felt that they could do to me that was going to make the marks go away.
How were you injured?
By him strangling me. I had marks on my arm, on my face.
Did you take any photographs
I have
of
the
it?
police report and pictures.
I'd like to see.
Plus, I didn't go right to the hospital, or I didn't go to the hospital because the police wanted me to go to the police station. I was down there for about 3-4 hours.
I noticed that in your statement to the police, you didn't tell the police that Mr. DeFrancesco wanted to leave, or that the mess that they observed in the kitchen of the Chinese food all over the place was the result of you throwing it all over the place. How come you didn't tell them that?
Oh, I don't recall whether I did or didn't.
You didn't. Trust me, you didn't.
Well, regardless of that, he has no right to try to strangle me.
You had no right to try to keep him in the house.
Oh, I didn't physically block his entrance from
That's
leaving.
what you
the
said.
door
That's
was right there.
That's exactly what you said.
I stopped him from getting his clothing, not from walking out the door.
No, that's not what you said, madam. You said, when I returned, I was still so angry that I started to throw food at him. He was going to get his stuff and leave, but I was too angry to let him leave with his clothes. I blocked the door.
I blocked the door from him getting his clothes in the bedroom.
So why didn't you let him get his clothes? You were both too drunk.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, she assaulted me on other occasions, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. I don't hit women.
Mr. DeFrancesco, how come you spent 5 months in jail?
I was on probation, but I was charged with assault with intent to murder, and intimidating a witness.
And later today,
I was trying to do her a favor. That's it.
You did do her a favor.
Yeah.
Then what are you bothering me for?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cindy Blankenship says ex-boyfriend Robert DeFrancesco owes for strangling her. Robert says Cindy threw Chinese food at him.
Madam, he'd been drinking, according to you, for days. Drinking and doing drugs for days. All right, I'm prepared to hear you, Mr. DeFrancesco.
Your Honor, I first met Cindy. She's right, I did
I
get out
heard
of jail.
that how you met her. You met her at a bar. You went home with her and you stayed too long.
No, I went home with her, and that night I left. At 5 in the morning, some other gentleman called, and I had to leave, and she brought me to my brother's house. And then the next day, I went to see her. We did some gardening work, whatever. And
Could you look at me instead of looking over there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Off and on, we stayed together for about 3 weeks. I'd see her for a few days, it would be okay, then she'd start yelling at me for stupid little things, and it would get all crazy, and I'd say, you know, I'm gonna leave. So one time she called the police, and I'd already left. But
he was trying to run my household.
Could you look at me when you're speaking, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor. When the cops came, they just came because she just wanted me to leave, and I'd already left. So I told her, I said, you know, I'm on probation and stuff like that. I can't have any problems with the police, so I don't think this is going to work out. So to make a long story short, we'd gone back and forth.
You're still looking over there.
Back and forth, and then another time the police came to get me. You know, the same thing. I just left. I had my bag of clothes. It was raining out. I left.
You shouldn't be drinking with her, sir. I mean, but the problem is you're two drunks living together.
Well, Your Honor, the day in question of the day that I got arrested, I was working all day. I was working all day. She was at the bar. She was supposed to be going to get her motorcycle license or whatever, but it got done early. She came home. So then I got upset with her. I'd already told her a few times, you know, if this continues, we're not going to stay together. You know, I can't handle this. You're too abusive.
It was the other way around, Your Honor.
Your Honor, she assaulted me on other occasions, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. I don't hit women. You know, she was hitting me.
Mr. DeFrancesco, how come you spent 5 months in jail? Were you on probation or parole?
I was on probation, but I was charged with assault with intent to murder, and intimidating a witness.
Okay.
That's what I was charged with.
Okay. And those charges were ultimately tossed.
They were dropped because she pled the fifth, because she didn't want to perjure herself.
Well, for whatever reason, they should have been dropped a long time ago. What had you just been released from jail for?
Assault and battery, malicious damage. I got into a big fight at a bar. I did like 2 years.
Mr. DeFrancesco, may I suggest to you, sir, that you are not a good drunk? Do you understand? You're not a good drunk. And if you're going to continue to drink, I wouldn't take up with somebody who is also a bad drunk. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
That's
right.
what I tried
How old
to
are
do.
you, sir?
I'm 42 years old.
You look every day of it, Mr. DeFrancesco. You're getting old before your time, sir.
Well, Your Honor, I did try to leave. That's why, you know, that's why I feel it's bogus.
Mr. Blankenship, you don't have a case. He didn't try to murder you. You were two drunks
If he didn't try to
having...
murder me, Your Honor, why did they charge him with attempted murder from the marks all over me?
Listen,
why did I call 911?
I'm telling you why you called 911, because he finally got fed up with you, and he probably did try to choke you. That's why. That's not attempted murder, just like you throwing Chinese food at him is not assault. You want to drink and do drugs with somebody who also drinks and does drugs? That's what happens. What are you bothering me for? Goodbye.
What is your excuse? You may step out.
I tried to get out of the relationship, and it just ended up being violent.
It's obviously started a different way from him dropping his drawers to the floor and so on, you know, making any type of sexual advances that he wanted to happen. So, I mean, it's insane.
Those are personal issues. That's stuff that normal people do, you know. It's just that it just got carried away.
Him and I being together, drinking, you know, not knowing what kind of relationship we were going to get into. So I wish it had never started from the beginning.
Of course, if you drink and drug, it's going to cause problems, you know. But what she stated, you know, that just shows it's one of her traits. You know what I mean? She just talks crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Trathan versus Riffett, step forward, please.
Maintenance technician Joseph Trathan is suing his ex-girlfriend, inventory auditor Joelle Riffett, for the balance on a Dodge Stratus. Joelle claims the vehicle is Joseph's responsibility.
Mr. Trathan, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was your girlfriend, you have a child together, owes you for some money for a car.
Yes.
And Miss Riffett, I don't know. I tried to figure out her answer, but it was all kind of very soft. She says you agreed to assume the losses for the car when you sold it. However, we're going to ferret out the truth. When did you purchase this car along with Miss Riffett? In what year?
I co-signed, I believe, in '01.
When did you buy the car?
June of 2000.
What kind of car did you buy?
A Dodge Stratus.
It was your car?
Yes.
And he co-signed the loan because you couldn't get it without his co-signature, is that right?
We actually were both on the loan equally. It was...
Because you couldn't get it by yourself?
It was a lower interest that way.
Because you couldn't get it by yourself?
Yes.
And you kept the car from June of 2000 until when?
April 2004.
And what did you do with it?
Well, what happened was I left the house. I left him in October, and I tried maintaining the payments.
October of 2003?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was doing it. I had an apartment on my own, and I was trying to raise both my children, and I was having a hard time struggling making the payments because they were $330. Okay. And we had discussed it, and I asked him if he can help me out by taking the car because I can't afford it no more, so I can get a less expensive car. And the day before I gave it back to him, I called him and said, hey, Nissan called me, and they said they got a car for me for $4,500, which made my payments to be $170. Are you still willing to take it? Because I still had one more day to tell Nissan I didn't want it if he didn't agree. So he said, yeah, that's fine. We made arrangements. I dropped it off the car, and I put both sets of keys underneath the driver's seat. And after that, after I dropped it off on the 30th, I thought everything was done and fine. We were on good terms. I wasn't expecting any of this.
How much child support does he pay?
He pays me $205 now, but at the time...
Don't tap.
Okay.
$205 a what?
A week.
And how much child support do you get from the father of your other child?
$100 a week.
So you get twice that from him?
Now.
What were you getting before?
He was only giving me $100 a week.
And when did it double? Put your hand down.
September.
You're the girlfriend?
I'm the fiance, ma'am.
Fiance. We don't need you. We don't need to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Good.
On September 27th, we went to court, and that's when they distinguished $205 a week.
Now, sir, Miss Riffett says that you agreed to take... Stop shaking your head. You look like making me seasick. Miss Riffett says that you agreed to take the car and sell it. I assume sell it. Is that right?
No.
Well, tell me what you agreed to do.
I agreed to try to help her sell the car. I talked to my neighbors, some people at work, try to get rid of the car if I could.
Well, when she told you she wanted to get rid of the car, what did you say to her?
I said I would try... Yeah, I would say I would try to help you get rid of the car if I could. If I can't, that's your responsibility. It was your car. I'm not going to take the loss.
You told her that? You told her those things?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said it's not my...
And what happened when she dropped the car off with the keys at your house?
Well, I didn't want to take on the responsibility of the extra car payment, or if I couldn't make it, going against my credit. So I gave myself like a month time limit to try to get rid of it, because my neighbor was talking to her mom about trying to buy it. And then she got a hold of me. I couldn't sell it to her, so I went to CarMax, see how much they could offer to me for it.
Why didn't you try to sell it privately, put an ad in the paper?
Because I didn't want to continue making the payments. And also, if she's saying she couldn't afford it, when she moved out of the house, we split the equity in the house. I gave her a $10,000 check for the equity of the house several months later, which she knew she was going to get money for that.
You shouldn't have taken the car, sir. You have to have a contract with her.
I didn't take it. She left it on me.
Not have taken the car. You should have taken it back to her with the keys and said, this is your problem. This is your car. You've had it for 4 years. I'm not doing anything with it. But once you assume the responsibility by trying to sell it and then going ahead and selling it to somebody else, you can't come back against her for the difference. You didn't have a contract with her.
I was trying to do her a favor. That's it.
That's fine. You did her a favor. You did do her a favor.
Yeah.
Then what are you bothering me for?
Because, and then she's saying she couldn't afford it, but she, what, gave it to me in April? That's 5 months later.
You have to have a contract with her. An agreement, oral, written. And the oral or written agreement says, if you sell the car at a loss, I will pay the difference. You didn't have that contract with her.
No, but I know I couldn't let it sit there and not have anyone make payments on it. She could give me half the money. What happens,
sir, is that after she stops making payments, they're going to repossess the car. If she let that happen. Now, she may not have let that happen because she has a job and she doesn't want her credit destroyed. But once you assume the responsibility by selling the car without a contract, oral or written, with her, you cannot then come to court and say, well, she should have done this. She should have made the payments. She should not have put me in that position. She should not have dropped the car off at my house. She dropped the car off, you took the car, and you sold it. That's your problem.
But I was trying to do the right thing.
Good.
And I didn't want it affecting my credit. It would have been too late if I would have waited for something like that.
I have to tell you, sir, I'm very sympathetic with you. You should not have done it. This is a court. Courts deal with contracts. You did not have a contract with her.
I have contracts on how much I paid
Sorry.
on it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Harry Hauser is suing his former friend, 20-year-old Kyle Cooper, for vandalizing his home and punching him in the face during a party.
Yeah, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Hauser versus Cooper. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Hauser, it is your claim that the defendant, who was a guest in your home, there was a party going on in your house, first damaged the house by putting his fist through the wall, and when he was confronted over the damage, he assaulted you. You want the repairs to the house compensated, and also you want to be compensated for the assault and your lost wages. Mr. Cooper says he caused no damage to your house, that you were the one who initiated the altercation as he was attempting to leave the house, and in addition, Mr. Cooper says that you were providing underage people with alcohol in the house. That's your defense.
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
And you?
I'm 36, Judge.
Who invited you to the house?
Jerry did.
Is that you? Is he a friend of yours?
I met him through my sister.
How does she know him?
She knew a girl that lived there with him from school.
You go to college?
No.
High school?
No, I dropped out.
Well, what do you do with yourself?
I work full-time at True Manufacturing.
Were there other young men in their 20s at the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
At least 7, 8 that I brought over there.
What did you bring over all these guys for?
He was having a party, said we'd come over, drink, bought us alcohol.
Did he tell you to bring friends?
He always lets us to.
So this isn't the first time you were there?
No, ma'am.
How many times have you been there?
I've been there at least 10, 12 times.
Okay, so he has big parties. Mr. Hauser, you're a party guy.
I wouldn't claim that, Judge, but I like to have fun.
Okay. Tell me what happened, Mr. Hauser.
Okay, on the night of January 21st of 2006, it was probably, they started arriving at 8 p.m., but I'm not claiming them as my friends. They know a Lauren.
I don't care whether they're your friends or not. They've been to your home 10 times, according to him, for parties. So they were not strangers to your house, nor did they come uninvited. Just tell me what happened on the 21st. They arrived and get to the point where they were leaving.
Okay. I was pretty much in my room. Sometimes I was out there. Usually I stay in my room. I don't like, associate with the people. So around 11 p.m., it sounded like everybody left. My door was open in my room, and I heard a bang sound. I look at my room, and I see Mr. Cooper just punching holes in the wall repeatedly. And I said, hey. He runs out the front door, and I run after him, and we get out to the edge of the driveway, and I'm like, man, what's your deal? Why are you knocking holes in my wall? I said earlier that night when I went out there, I was like, I don't want to see no more damage to my place. You guys come over. It was not our place. We're renting it. Me and some other roommates were renting it. And I said, we're tired of this. And so I guess that wasn't enough for him to beat holes in the wall, so he hit me in the nose, and 2 or 3 of his friends was punched me in the back of the head and the back. They got me on the ground to where I guess it wasn't enough, so they kept kicking me.
Well, how many of them were around you?
Ma'am, I was being hit by, I think, 2 or 3 guys.
Had you been drinking that night, Mr. Hauser?
I had a couple beers, yep. And that's the honest truth, but I wasn't drunk.
All right, sir, let me hear your version of these events.
All right, my sister drove Jerry up to the store to get us a gallon of vodka that night. We went over to his house, started drinking. Around 11:30, everybody got ready to leave. He was in the kitchen picking up trash, beer cans, whatever was thrown around his kitchen, everything. He comes running outside, asking who punched a hole in the wall. Runs up to me, pushes me. I told him I'd not do it. Pushed me again, said he was going to beat my so I started swinging on him.
Were you there?
Yes.
Stand up. Last name is Cooper?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
19.
You allowed to drink?
No.
What were you doing drinking in the house?
Pretty much everyone just went over there. We went over there like weekends, during the week, like anytime we wanted to, and we brought whoever we wanted to. So it was just a house that you could just go and drink at wherever you wanted. So we went over there and drank all the time.
Oh, great. That's really smart. Did you drop out of school too?
No, I'm a full-time student in college.
Who pays for your college?
Me and my parents do.
They must be really proud. So, Ms. Cooper, tell me what you witnessed.
Jerry was in the kitchen. I thought he was like doing dishes, just picking the kitchen up. And then we all walked outside because we were getting ready to leave. And
who punched holes in the wall?
No one punched holes in the wall. There was holes in the wall from the very first times that we went over there. And then we were all walking out of the house, and he had a girlfriend at the time, and someone was asking her, who's riding home with you? And she goes, Kyle. And I don't know if Jerry thought that someone was saying Kyle punched the holes in the wall because he was asking that question at the same time. And then he went up to Kyle, and he pushed Kyle once. Kyle's like, what are you doing?
How did he push him?
Well,
turn around and show me how he pushed him, Miss Cooper.
Well, Kyle...
Turn around and show me.
Is walking towards his car, going that way, and Jerry's come up behind him, and he goes, Kyle, why'd you punch the holes in my wall? And Kyle goes, I didn't. And then he pushed Kyle.
Show me.
Just like that, like pushed him backwards.
Yeah.
And then Kyle goes, what are you doing? I didn't punch no holes in your wall. And then he pushed him like that the same way again, and then Kyle just like started punching him back.
Now, when Kyle started punching him, where were the other people who were leaving?
We were already walking towards the cars.
But somebody else started punching and kicking Mr. Hauser. Who was that?
There was no one else hitting him except for Kyle.
So Kyle was doing all the hitting?
Yeah.
And Kyle was doing all the kicking?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he was fighting back or what.
Well, he was on the ground at some point.
Yeah.
And while he was on the ground, where was Kyle?
I was already towards the car. They were like wrestling around though. So, I mean, I know that he was on the ground.
But he was by himself. There were no other people around him.
No, it was just those two.
What did your brother have an outstanding warrant for?
I didn't know he did.
Well, he knows he did, right?
I don't have a warrant out.
Did you?
Did I? Yeah.
What was the outstanding warrant for?
Well, a question about Jerry's house.
Were you arrested?
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you arrested for?
Wanting for questioning.
Do you have an outstanding warrant from St. Charles County?
Yeah.
For what?
Drugs.
Well, I mean, why do I have to ask you these questions? Do you think that I'm asking you these questions when I don't have some indication what it was about?
Yeah.
Stand up on your own 2 feet. So you were taken into custody at some point and arrested. You were arrested on an outstanding warrant and for questioning, I assume.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been easier for you to say to me right from the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe that you saw Mr. Cooper putting holes in your wall.
Oh, yes, I did.
Did you?
I heard it. I looked out my door, and there he was.
And later today,
You got annoyed with him, so you said, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use it for myself, and then I'm going to have the ticket switched in his name. They're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to pay it again. That's outrageous.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerry Hauser claims former friend Kyle Cooper punched holes into his wall during a party. Jerry also claims Kyle and his friends beat him up.
Now, what happened with the arrest warrant on the possession of a controlled substance?
It's going to court right now. I got a continuance.
And what about the assault charge?
Dismissed.
When?
Last Saturday.
On what basis?
Coming here. I wanted to come here and...
No, I don't handle criminal cases. The assault is a criminal case. What happened to the criminal case? Do you know?
It wasn't pursued, Judge.
Why?
We agreed to dismiss it.
Why?
It was in the basis, Your Honor, of...
Make sure I get a correct answer.
It was in the basis of coming to this court...
No. This court has nothing to do with a criminal charge. tell me why, sir, you chose to not pursue this vicious assault against this young man.
Judge, the honest truth is we had to dismiss the charges to take it to another court.
To take it to what other court?
Just civil.
Just to do it civilly. Oh,
Right.
I see. So you did not want to see the right person punished for that. You just wanted money. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me, Mr.
Yes,
Hauser?
ma'am.
But what good does that do, Mr. Hauser? What kind of a lesson does that display to this young man?
I guess I should feel petty, but I don't.
You should feel petty because, A, I don't believe that you saw Mr. Cooper putting holes in your wall.
Oh, yes, I did.
When? That night?
Around 11 o'clock.
Did you?
I heard it. I looked out my door, and there he was.
How many holes did he put in the wall?
I think he hit it 5 times where I said, hey.
No. Listen to me. How many holes did he put in the wall?
Here you go, ma'am. Here's a picture of the wall.
Oh, what you're telling me is he didn't make a hole in the wall. He got the paint chipped off the wall. Is that right? There's not a hole there.
No, that's a big hole.
That doesn't go through. That doesn't go through. The paint
It goes
is all
all the way
chipped.
through the drywall, ma'am.
What's on top of the drywall?
Well, there's paint, but he punched...
That's what I'm talking about. There's paint. So he chipped off all the paint.
No, ma'am, that goes all the way through the drywall.
Are we understanding each other, or am I missing something?
Looks like paint is chipped to me.
Now, when you went outside, Mr. Hauser, did you put your hands on Mr. Cooper?
Didn't touch him.
You think he was drunk?
Oh, he was intoxicated. I think she's probably coked up, too, for all I know.
You are 16 years his senior. What are you doing letting 20-year-old kids come to your house to drink? Not on one occasion, but on many occasions. What are you doing allowing these kids to come to your house?
Okay, Judge, it wasn't my house. There was 4 of us were renting this house. I was only one roommate.
What were you doing allowing him in your house, her in your house, drinking?
What could I do, call the cops every time?
Absolutely! When they started to arrive, sir, on the 21st of January, 2006, did you call the police?
No.
Did you see them drinking?
Yes.
Why didn't you call the police if you didn't want them
Because
there?
they were guests of other friends.
They can't commit a crime in your house, sir.
Okay.
And if he got drunk, this 20-year-old idiot, an idiot who you also knew was a drug abuser, you thought he was all coked up in addition to drinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wanted a reasonable response to him after you saw him, according to you. Now, I don't see a hole in the wall, but according to you, somebody taking their bare fist and punching a hole, according to you, in the wall 5 times. That's what you saw.
Correct.
So you were expecting a reasoned response after you approached him outside?
Well, yeah, when I saw him do it, I was angry. I went out there earlier that night and I even said, you know, you guys are guests in our home, which I never claimed any of these as my friends. I can't believe it says my friends.
I don't care whether you're friends or not. They were guests of yours in your home. You permitted them to be there. And you permitted alcohol to be served. Did you ever go to buy alcohol that
Nope.
night?
Yes,
I won't,
he did.
No, I won't
He
buy
bought it on my debit card
Nope.
that night that it happened.
Where did he buy it?
At Shop and Save, off Harvester.
What did you buy?
A gallon of Popov. It's vodka.
Yeah, all right. They got plenty of friends.
Just a second. I believe her. I believe her that you took her and her friend over to get some alcohol. Your house got trashed. That's your problem. Your nose got busted. That's your problem. You allow babies to drink in your house and you furnish them alcohol. If they left your house and they killed somebody in a car, it would be your responsibility. There's a reason that the government says children can't be trusted to consume alcohol. There's a reason. Because of jerks like him and her. And if they destroyed your house, and this isn't the first time that they were there, and if you didn't like it, you should have made sure that they didn't come back. You don't take them to get alcohol and then complain later that because he was probably coked up and drunk that he assaulted you. That's too bad. And if you think that you had a case, and if you think that you were in the right, you should not have withdrawn the case in order to come here and try to get some money. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Half the time we come home, them idiots would be in there anyway, partying.
Him buying us alcohol, coming outside saying he'll be my It's 36, I'm 20 years old.
It just wasn't my place. She didn't understand that.
I think it wouldn't have been that wrong if there was no alcohol involved.
Took advantage of him. I liked it though, it's fun.
People get a little bit crazier than they normally would when you drink alcohol.
And now the next case.
All parties in a matter of Lovelace versus Smith. Step forward.
21-year-old Edward Lovelace is suing his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Nicole Smith, and her mother, Patty, for misappropriating money meant to pay a traffic ticket.
Miss Smith, is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This gentleman was your daughter's boyfriend for a while.
Yes, he was.
He lived in your house?
Yes, he did.
When did he live in your house?
From March 9th, 2005 until December 2005.
Was he working at the time?
Not when he first moved in, he wasn't.
When
About
did he-
first 2 months, he was not working.
But he got a job?
Yes, but didn't pay rent except for 3 months.
When did he pay rent?
He paid $150 towards rent in June or July.
When next?
Before I left truck driving was in September. I'd say another $150 about August.
In August, and then?
And then he paid $300.
When?
For December.
December what?
15th.
When did he move out?
Right before Christmas.
When next?
And then the $400 check, right when he moved out.
When?
About the 17th, I guess, of December.
So he gave you a check for $300 on December 15th, and he gave you another check, $400.
Right.
2 days later.
Yes.
All right, good. This is what the case is about, Mr. Lovelace. According to your complaint, you were driving a truck that
Van.
belonged to your girlfriend, or a van that, don't speak unless I ask you a question, that was still in her uncle's name, but her uncle had given it to your girlfriend.
Yes.
You were driving.
Yes.
And you ran a red light.
Mm-hmm.
They caught you on the camera,
Yes.
and you got a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
The ticket was $330?
Yes.
When did you get the ticket?
Oh, I believe it was the beginning of September.
And there was some problem because since the truck was in the uncle's name,
Mm-hmm.
arrangements had to be made to get the ticket in your name
Yes.
so that you could pay the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
It is your claim that you gave the defendants $400
Mm-hmm.
to pay that ticket
Mm-hmm.
and whatever other miscellaneous
They
expenses
needed
there
cigarettes.
were.
Neither of them were working.
And they did not pay the ticket.
No, they didn't. They switched the ticket into my name.
When did they do that?
I'm not sure the date.
When did you do that?
It was about 2 months after he moved out.
So in February, you had tickets switched to his name.
Because there was...
Shut, don't! I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
There was going to be a bench warrant.
I'm just asking you whether or not you switched the ticket
Yes.
into his name. 2 months later. Uncross your hands.
I cover my belly.
When were you notified that there was going to be a bench warrant for your uncle?
I was told by the plaintiff.
By the plaintiff?
That's not
When-
true, Your Honor.
Shh. When you're lying, you always make a mistake. Let me find the mistake.
Okay.
Okay? Because their story doesn't make sense to me. Their story of this $400 gift 2 days after you paid $300 in rent doesn't make sense to me.
He was moving out with no notice.
So what? He doesn't have to give you any notice. According to you, he lived there for 9 months and hardly paid you any rent. So you weren't relying on his money. He doesn't have to give you any notice. The reason he gave you the $400 was to pay this ticket, not rent. He had already given you $300 in rent, and the problem was you got annoyed with him for moving out. So you said, well, listen, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use it for myself, and then I'm going to have the ticket switched in his name. They're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to pay it again. That's outrageous. Who broke up with whom?
I broke up with her, Your Honor.
Right. How did I know that? And according to you, he left you with some credit card stuff, that he charged things on your credit card. Is that right?
A couple things.
Couple of things that you were annoyed at.
No.
Well, you say here in your answer that you were annoyed at that.
No, I was just stating the fact that he owes me money too, but we both...
Well, he
incurred-
owes you money too. So what you're saying is he owes you money too, but he gave you $400 for the rent. Is that what you're saying?
He gave it to
Baloney! He gave you the money to pay the ticket, and you had no right to use it for your own purposes.
He told us that he was giving it to us to pay the rent so we wouldn't get evicted and be on the streets.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He had just given you $300 on the 15th. That's according to you. 2 days later, he gave you another $400. How much was the rent?
Pardon
How
me?
much was the rent?
$600.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. Your conduct was outrageous.
Thank you.
He's finished with you. You have to say goodbye. Put a period. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing. And you did the wrong thing. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may.
20-year-old Amy Jimenez is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old customer service rep Ronnie Brooks, for damages due to an assault. Amy claims Ronnie kicked her car and then broke her cell phone when she tried to call 911.
Hello. It's hard to train them. Your Honor, this is case number 457 in the matter of Jimenez versus Brooks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
My money's on you.
Okay.
Ms. Jimenez, this used to be your boyfriend. You claim he has a bad temper, and while you were in the midst of an argument, he kicked your car and then body slammed you on your car, causing damage to your car.
Yeah.
Now, you're suing him for damage to the car, but not damage necessarily to your body, which causes me some pause, because to me, if somebody took me and threw me against a car, I would sue him for hurting me, but I guess your car is important. And also, you say in another fit of rage, he broke your cell phone.
Yeah.
Mr. Brooks says, well, he did in fact break the cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
But he says with regard to the car, you were trying to run him down, and he merely tried to protect himself by trying to hold back 3,000 pounds with his foot. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did this incident happen with your car, Miss Jimenez?
October 7th.
Where were you?
We were at my house.
How long had you been at your house?
About 3 minutes. We'd gotten into an argument right as we pulled up.
He was in your car?
He'd gotten out of the car, and I was still in the car. And we'd gotten into an argument, and I didn't want to get out of the car. I didn't want him to go into my house, so I told him I was going to take him home.
He was coming to your house for what?
To take a shower.
Why? He doesn't have a shower?
His shower didn't have a shower curtain, and I guess he liked my shower better.
His shower didn't have a shower curtain?
Yeah.
How do you do that, sir?
Oh, we just took baths.
You just took baths in your house?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a shower curtain?
Lazy, I guess.
How long have you lived in this house without a shower curtain?
It was like 2 months.
2 months without a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
Who lives there?
Well, it was just me and my brother at the time.
Did you used to live with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And your father?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they have a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So he was coming to your house to take a shower because he got tired of taking baths at his house.
Yeah.
Probably got tired because if he didn't have a shower curtain and only took baths, I guarantee you that he didn't clean the bathtub.
That's not true.
That is true.
She's lying.
No. Anybody that doesn't have time to buy a shower curtain doesn't have time to rub-a-dub-dub scrubbing out the bathtub. Anyway, okay. So you picked him up to take him to your house to take a shower. You got into an argument in the car. He got out of the car. You didn't want to get out of the car. You wanted to drive him home.
Yeah. Somehow my roommate got involved into this argument, and he went up to the house to confront my roommate, and he assaulted my roommate. And then after that, he came back out, assaulted me, and then...
Well, tell me how he assaulted you.
He pushed me to the ground and kicked me in the leg.
What was the fight about?
That he used me.
Used you?
Yeah.
Used you for what?
Well, he didn't have a car, you know, he really didn't have very much money, and I was pretty much there for him.
Okay. So he threw you down on the ground and he kicked you twice. Go ahead.
He continued to follow me around, so I went and got in my car, and he continued to yell at me while I was in my car, and then he started...
What was he yelling?
I wasn't paying attention. I was just too disturbed by what he'd just done to me. And so I just sat in my car, and he kicked the hood, and then he kicked the side panel twice. And I have pictures here of the damages that he did.
That's not true, Your Honor. This didn't happen at her house. This happened at my house.
That's not true. She was telling the truth. She picked you up from your house without a shower curtain and took you to her house that did have a shower curtain to take a shower.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go into the house and take a shower?
No, I had got into a fight with her roommate.
Okay, about what?
Because he said that I was using her. So I went up to the door, and I asked him if he said something, and he said he did. So he was walking away, and I kept following him, and then I hit him.
You hit him?
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
No, ma'am.
Where did you hit him?
Well, I didn't really hit him. I kind of put... He was...
He hit him in the head.
Shh. She's lying.
No, look, just a minute. You just said you hit him.
Well, I pushed him in the back of his head as he was walking away. You know, kind of like that.
Not true.
Yeah, it is. And after that, we went into the backyard. We argued for a minute.
Who argued?
Me and him.
Well, I certainly would argue with you. I'd probably call the police. And then you got back into the car?
And she took me home.
So what happened when you got home?
Well, we got home. We were going to go out that night. I said I didn't want to go to the club she wanted to go, so she got mad.
She was in her brother's car at the time. She thought I stole her keys. She kept coming over there after she went home from the club. My witness is right here, okay? She was cussing, just ran into my house, didn't knock or anything, just walked in. We're in there chilling, you know? She said, where are my keys, where are my keys? I said, I don't have your keys. She leaves and comes back, leaves and comes back. She does this like 3 times, okay? Finally, she comes back with her car. And she said, where's my keys, where are my keys? She's drunk, by the way. I said, dude, you're stupid. If I have your keys, how are you in your car? Okay, so I had to...
That's right. She said, dude, you're stupid. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. So I had to physically take her out of my house to put her in the car. Okay, as I did that, she was backing up. She backed up like this, and then she went forward like she was going to hit me. And I kicked the car. I did kick the car, but she was trying to hit me.
But she wasn't in the car when she did that.
Yeah,
That was my brother's car. That was not my car.
I had put her in the car.
You would put her in the car?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brooks, how long was Miss Jimenez your girlfriend?
2.5, 3 months, maybe.
Did you like her?
Yeah.
Why would you put her in her car if she was drunk?
Because she wouldn't get out of my house.
Weren't you concerned that maybe she would hurt herself driving around drunk in the car?
Yes, ma'am, but she does that all the time anyway. She always drives around drunk. Every time we go to the club, we're both drunk and she drives.
That makes you dumb and dumber. If you get into the car with somebody who's driving while they're intoxicated, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why are you so stupid?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I mean, we both drive drunk. I mean, I know how to drive when I'm drunk. I don't know.
You don't have any children or anything, do you?
Well, I do have a daughter.
Well, I was going to suggest you not do that. Now, you want to talk to me?
Okay.
Tell me your name.
My name is Derek.
Derek, you have a last name.
Villanueva.
Villanueva.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I pronounce that well?
That's fine.
But, so if I wasn't so good at pronouncing your last name, we'll just call you Derek.
That's fine.
Derek, were you a witness to this incident that happened on October the 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me where you were, Derek.
I was in Ronnie's house, sitting on the couch, playing the PlayStation.
Everybody's got a PlayStation. PlayStation he has, shower curtain he doesn't have.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The entire world knows that the two of you drive drunk. So if you get behind the wheel and kill somebody, it's not an accident anymore. Do we understand each other?
And later today,
I was violated because I had a dirty pee test because I smoked weed or whatever. And I had to do 3 months, and I got out, had a baby, get out of my mom's
Sounds like
house.
the American dream to me.
Yeah.
Sit down.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Jimenez says her ex-boyfriend, Ronnie Brooks, owes for kicking a dent into her car and for breaking her cell phone. Ronnie says Amy was drunk on the night in question.
Go ahead.
Well, first I heard a noise to the left, and it was a foot coming through the door. That would be her foot. So Ronnie took her to the car. Well, like he said, she tried to run over him whenever she backed up and then came forward, and that's what I had seen. I also saw them yelling at each other, but I didn't see him hit her.
He didn't hit her.
No, ma'am.
Because I read her complaint, and her complaint doesn't say he hit her.
That was because his friends were around that time.
Well, I mean,
His friends weren't around him when you filled out this complaint, madam.
Ma'am, she was also drunk, so, I mean, she doesn't even remember me.
Oh, you kicked her car.
I kicked it, yeah, but she tried to run me over.
Yeah, but you kicked it on the side.
He also slammed me on the hood several times.
I made one dent
He
on
did
that
only
car.
kick it once.
I only kicked it one time.
You kicked it once?
One time.
Very good, because these pictures were taken 2.5 months later, right?
They were. My father took those pictures because I did not have a camera at the time.
Well, that's too bad. 2.5, almost 3 months later, you don't bring pictures in of a car.
Your Honor, I filed the police report later on, like a month later. I was terrified of Ronnie.
A month later?
He promised me he was going to fix my car, and I was waiting for him to fix it. I went over to his house several times.
Just a second, Mr. Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
I tend to believe the fact that you kicked her car, and I tend to believe the fact that she was drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you, because otherwise she would have filed this police report the next day if it happened the way she said it happened. She waited a month, something happened, and I don't know, we even know whether you saw each other socially during that month. Did you or did you not?
Yes, ma'am. About 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, we did.
Where did you go 2 or 3 weeks afterwards?
She always went to my house after that happened.
I have to go to his house because he doesn't have a car.
You mean after this happened, you went to his house?
His roommate lived with him, and I knew if there's other people around, he wouldn't
Just a
hurt me.
second. I don't care whether his roommate was there or not. You're making this up as you're going along, Miss Jimenez.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because if you're terrified of somebody, you don't go to their house. That's not what happens. You stay away from them, whether their roommate is there or not.
I was trying
Now,
to get my car fixed, Your Honor.
Oh, please, give me a break, will you please? Tell me about how you broke her cell phone, sir.
Well, that was at her house whenever I had just got through getting to that confrontation with her roommate. She didn't want to take me home at first, and my clothes were in her car, so I just told her to open her car, and I would walk home. Okay, she didn't want to, so I just grabbed her cell phone and threw it across the parking lot.
And how much did you pay for your cell phone?
She didn't. She got another one free.
Did you get another one free?
Yes. That's what you told me last week.
My friend bought me another cell phone because I couldn't afford to get another cell phone.
Okay. Now, how much do you think it's going to cost to pull out the dents in this car?
For the particular part that I kicked, $400, because she had showed me the estimate. She went to my house and showed me, and I said I'd pay for that.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $480. $400 for the kick to the car and $80 for the cell phone. Stay away from each other. Stay away from him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And by the way, one more thing. The entire world knows that the two of you now drive drunk. So if you get behind the wheel of a car and kill somebody, it's not an accident anymore. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand me? Perfect.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My roommate told me that he thought Ronnie was using me.
He didn't have a job, and she was taking him everywhere, and I told her that he was the one that was using her.
Ronnie did use me. He's scum. He's very violent.
No more. That's over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fernandez versus Holt. Step forward.
18-year-old homemaker April Fernandez is suing her boyfriend's sister, 24-year-old nurse's assistant Sheba Holt, for the return of a security deposit. Sheba says she kept the money because April ran up a $400 phone bill.
Miss Fernandez, I assume this is your boyfriend?
Yes.
Your brother?
Yes.
According to what I read, Miss Fernandez, in your complaint, you had been living with Miss Holt.
Her mother.
And
Correct.
she lived there too?
Yes.
With the boyfriend. And there came a time when you and Miss Holt decided to rent an apartment together. You gave her a deposit, $300.
Yes.
And then you changed your mind.
Yes.
Why did you change your mind?
During the time my son was in the hospital, and she would come up and visit.
Is he the father of that child?
Yes, he is.
How old is that child?
Now he's 4 months, 5 months actually.
Go ahead.
And during the time my son was in the hospital for surgery, he was only a couple weeks old, and my boyfriend and I planned to get our own apartment. We were living at his mom's house rent-free, and we were trying to save our money to get our own apartment. She came up with the idea that let's live together and we'll split the rent. So I went along with it. She picked me up, took me to the bank. I withdrawed money, and the day later I got released from the hospital, asked her to pick me up, and she never showed up. So I changed my mind, and I asked for my money back, and she never paid me back.
That's incorrect. She lived with me because that is my home also. I pay half the bills, I pay the phone bill, I pay half the mortgage, everything. Me and my mother share the home. And so, yes, she was living with me under my roof.
That's fine. She gave you $300. You don't deny she gave you $300.
No, I don't deny that she gave me $300, but I also don't believe that I owe her $300.
Well, that's what you have to explain to me.
Well, I have a phone bill here from when she stayed at my house. I did say that she can stay rent-free until after she had her child, but I didn't say that she can run my phone bill up.
Incorrect.
And so when I got my phone bill and seen all these collect calls that she accepted from that young man who was in jail, I didn't feel like I needed to pay her $300 due to the fact that mortgage was due. We were all still living in that house.
Okay, I got it. Step. Ms. Holt, let me tell you this. Generally speaking, you can't do what you want to do, which is write off the $300. And I understand you gave her $70 back.
Yes, I did because I felt
Okay, and you
bad.
acknowledge she gave you $70 back.
Yes, she did.
You can't decide that you're going to hold that for bills unless you had a contract that provided that she was to pay a phone bill.
Why would I need a...
Listen to me. Why? I don't know why. I have no idea why. She was staying at your house with a baby. He's in jail for what?
Anything.
What in me? But no.
Oh, I was in jail for a probation violation. because I didn't show up to court, failure to appear. And so I had a warrant for my arrest, and I got put in jail for 2.5 months. Then I got out, and...
What had you been convicted of?
What have I been convicted of?
That was my question. You have the answer.
Well, I got convicted of, what was it again? It was, it was grand theft, but that was in 2000.
2000 grand theft. I want to know what you were violated on, sir. What underlying crime were you violated on?
I was violated because I had a dirty pee test because I, smoked weed or whatever.
Oh, my God.
So I got in trouble for that, and I had to do 3 months, and I got out, had a baby, and, I wanted to get my stuff together and get out of my mom's house.
Sounds like the American dream to me.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Okay.
I have enough. Miss Holt,
Your Honor.
Miss Holt, listen to me very carefully.
Sure.
You owe her $230. Who are you living with now?
I still live at my same house.
Perfect. With your mother?
Yes.
Now, what about him?
Me. And he comes in and out as he pleases, bringing his little entourage to come live on me.
Do you know why that is, Miss
Why?
Holt? Because your mother permits it.
Well, anyhow, I live there, though.
No,
and I pay half of the bills.
Am I speaking? When I speak, you don't. Take your hand off your hip. Only attitude here is mine.
That's right.
Your problem is you live with your mother. This is her baby.
No,
No. He's her baby. You're grown up. You work, right?
Yes.
You help pay the bills?
Yes.
You have a responsible job?
Yes.
You've had it for how long?
Forever.
Forever?
Yes.
He will always be her baby because he's never going to grow up. He's never going to be responsible. You have to find your own place because your mother is always going to let him come back into the house. Always going to let him come back with his entourage, and it's always going to irritate you. So if you want to be free of that stress and aggravation, find your own place. Now I'm going to listen to you.
Okay, Judge, I just don't understand why she is suing me when I pulled her out of a situation where her mother, she's pregnant at 18 years old, 17, and her mother's getting ready to send her to jail pregnant. You know what I'm saying?
My mother, I don't want you to interrupt her.
And, all these things, and she's putting her out. And I stopped what I was doing when this fool called me from jail saying, "Can you rescue my broad?" So I go get her, bring her to my house, you know what I'm saying? Let her live in my room, rent-free, and this is what I get. This is what I get in return. I get sued for taking care of this youngster.
Miss Holt.
She's wrong. I'm wrong for taking her into my home.
Don't speak.
Letting her use me, that's what I'm wrong for.
Miss Holt.
Yes, ma'am.
You are morally correct. You cannot, however, take her $230. Do I think that she's right to sue you after living,
on me for over 6 months?
Do I think so? I think she lacks a certain amount of character.
Yes.
Right? But it looks like for every pot there's a cover. You get it? You get it?
Yes, I do.
Good. I'm glad I gave you a good laugh. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $230. Listen, don't be such a good person anymore.
You're right about that.
And find your own place, because your mother's always going to take him back. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Kathy Jesse is suing psychic Leon Legant for loans to take spiritual vacations. Kathy claims Leon has yet to pay the money back.
All rise. Quiet, please. Your Honor, case number 21 on the calendar in the matter of Jesse versus Legant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
According to what I read in the complaint several years ago, you knew Mr. Legant, who was a psychic reader?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he owns a psychic school?
Correct.
How long had you known him?
I first met him in 1998.
How?
I saw an advertisement of his in a newspaper.
And have you been using him for readings since?
Counseling, yes.
What particular training do you have?
Clairvoyant training of a 1-year intensive, 3 years of teacher's training. I have over 6 years of training. I also have my certificates if you'd like to see those.
In any event, you wanted to take a trip. Mr. Legant was interested in going. You discussed that he didn't have the money. According to you, you loaned him the money to go, and the understanding was that he would pay you back either in cash or readings.
True.
He went on the trip. For a while, he did, in fact, pay you back by doing readings. Somebody would keep a record of, I assume, of how much each reading was, and you would check off how much was left on the debt. at some point he missed a scheduled appointment.
Well, actually, Your Honor, he was making payments also. There was no set schedule for our appointments. It was whenever we decided.
So he was paying in cash as well?
Actually, yes. That was mostly the agreement.
In check and or cash?
He would deposit it directly into my account, and sometimes he paid in cash, and sometimes he wrote a check. I have the deposit slips.
I'd like to see them.
Sure.
You mean he had your bank account number?
Well, yes.
Did you have a social relationship with him?
Well, it wasn't very friendly in terms of a social relationship. I mean, we knew each other professionally, and I trusted him as a teacher and my mentor.
All right, so I see you made some payments to her.
That's correct.
So you consider this a loan?
No.
Well, what was it for?
It was a donation.
No. What was the money that you paid her?
That was the interest. Initially, this is the third trip I've been on with Miss Jessie.
We're talking about only this one, sir.
Okay. So in this case, Miss Jessie wanted me to go on a second trip to the Philippines. I clearly explained to her that that was not something I could afford. So she decided to make a donation to the school so that the school could sponsor my trip. In exchange for that donation, she was to receive hours of readings. The payment she received was when she asked for me to cover the interest on her visa. And I agreed to do that. I was grateful for the donation. I was grateful for the donation. I have the donation right here. I have the check.
Can I see it, please?
It says donation with a big smiley face.
Were these paid out of a private account or the school account?
It was paid out of the school's account.
So all these checks were school checks?
Mm-hmm.
None yours?
Right.
You're not very clairvoyant, sir. Show this to the defendant, please. That's not the school's account, is it?
Oh, no. I may have used my own account to make a check payment. That's entirely possible.
What?
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
What? You didn't see that one coming at all? Show him this one. Your account or the school's account?
That's my account.
One more. Uno más on this page.
Also my account. Your Honor, the...
Stop! I'm not going to read your account number, sir, but it also appears that when cash was deposited directly into her account, it was deposited directly into her account with the same numbers on the accounts that were on these checks.
Can I see that?
Yes, certainly. Here you go.
Huh, that's interesting. Because when I called the bank to get copies of this so that I would know in preparation for you, they explained to me there was no way to trace that information.
Well, you do see what I'm looking at, don't you?
I do see what you're looking at. And the agreement I had with her was to pay the interest on her card.
All I'm asking you is whether the cash and the checks that she ascribes to this loan came out of the school's account or out of your personal account.
Right.
So you would be saying now that it came out of your personal account.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I believe there were others that were taken from the school's
I'm
account.
looking to see yours.
And
you have
like
any
I
proof?
said, the bank said they
No,
couldn't trace this
No,
information.
listen to me, sir. Listen to me. Show me any checks that you have from the school to pay her.
I don't have those.
I do, however, see some checks, sir, that just say Bank of America, and it looks like they're from a different account.
That's right.
So sometimes you paid out of your personal account, and sometimes you paid out of the school account. You're getting my drift, sir.
Not fully.
Well, when you have a business and you start commingling money as to what is a business expense and what is not, you have a serious problem. And clearly, in looking over this paperwork, it appears to me as if you were commingling what you considered a business expense with a private debt. The IRS doesn't like that. You should know that.
I did what I could to make sure she received her interest payments in a timely manner.
Don't you make a living from this company?
Yes, I do.
Then you should have paid her, not commingled funds. That's a very bad thing, Mr. LeGrant. With commingled funds, the IRS is going to come and get you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I left him a voicemail saying that, I think that this was unfair, and at which point he sent me an email.
I would like to see the copy of the email that you sent to her.
I was very angry.
And later today,
I hit the throttle, and the whole transom, what the motor's mounted to, almost broke right off the boat. And the gas tank came completely disconnected and spilled gas all over the floor of the boat.
Kathy Jesse claims psychic Leon Legant borrowed money from her and never paid it back. Leon says the loan was repaid with free psychic readings. He is countersuing for slander.
Can you tell me what happened that precipitated this lawsuit?
He had made his last payment in November, and in December he promised me a payment on December 20th. And I was counting on that, and it was Christmas time, and I didn't get the payment. And I had an appointment with him scheduled for the 22nd, which I was going to discuss the matter with him, and then he didn't show up for the appointment and didn't let me know.
Does he come to your house, or do you go to his
No, it's a
school?
telephone. It's a telephone.
It's a telephone?
Yes, we hardly ever see each other in person. And so I left him a voicemail saying that, I think that this was unfair and I should be treated better. And at which point he sent me an email saying that he really thought that was the most mean, vicious thing anybody had ever said to him. And he really, literally never talked to me again.
What did she say on the voicemail?
She was incredibly ugly. I never finished both voicemails because it was too irate and too mean, too vicious, attacking everything she could think of and everything she knew about me. Basically, what happened in the beginning of December, I was still working with her and giving her readings. She explained to me that she lost her job, she was afraid she was going to lose the mortgage on her house, that she was in an incredibly strapped financial position. She began asking me if I could borrow money from my aunt to pay this balance off, and I explained to her that the agreement was an exchange of readings. This was not a loan.
That's not true, sir. That's not true, because there were payments made both out of the school's account and out of your personal account.
That was interest.
That's what you say. That's not what I find. Keep going.
So she was explaining all of this to me. I explained to her that this was not the agreement, this was not what I was going to do. She pressured me for a number of weeks. She did ask me to make a payment on the 20th in December because 25th was a Sunday and also Christmas. I explained to her that I get paid on a certain date, it takes a number of days to clear the bank. I'll do the best I can to try to do that, but that may not happen. And that went in one ear, right out the other.
All right, good. Did you make a payment in January?
I did not make a payment in December.
Did you make a payment in January,
or
is my question.
January, or since.
Right. Why not?
Because she threatened to sue me.
She didn't sue you in January, did she?
No, she filed, actually on January 20th, I was on the way to the bank because she had left these voicemails. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to handle this situation, and I told her that I would get back to her in January.
Well, so you were sort of jerking her around.
No.
Because you didn't pay the amount in December, because you said you get paid on a certain day, and you don't know whether it'll clear and whatever. All right, so you don't pay it December 20th, you don't pay it December 23rd. There's December 27th, December 28th, December 29th, December 30th, December 31st. She doesn't hear from you until January 20th?
No, she received an email from me explaining that I felt her messages were incredibly mean and
well,
that
show me you have the email? I would like to see the copy of the email that you sent to her.
I was very angry.
People who owe money usually are angry. Okay, so they were the meanest, cruelest, etc. Her two voice messages, and you choose to cut her off and not have anything to do with her until the holidays are over in December, because you don't want to be bothered during the holidays
because my mom was in a serious
any bad vibrations. And I'll let you know how I plan to handle the future in January. Well, what'd you do at the beginning of January, sir? The holidays are over.
Yeah, I was thinking about how to handle the situation. I wasn't sure how to do that. The 20th was coming by in January. I decided to make
20th?
it the 20th of January.
Well, so you were thinking between January 2nd and January 20th.
That's right.
Let me hear you counterclaim, Mr. LeGrand.
After Miss Jessie complained about this December incident, she did request communication from me. I did say that I would communicate with her in January about the situation. Before I had a chance to do that, she went to my website. She scoured through all of the emails, addresses, everything she could get, and began emailing everybody from clients, students, about the situation. Very, very crazy emails.
Well, show me.
Sure. Here's one she sent to the travel agent. I'll give you all of them. Okay. And also, as far as missed appointments, that has happened in the past.
I'm not interested in that. All she does is talk to whoever she talks to about the fact that you owe her money.
These are my students
Who
that
cares?
she ripped off my website.
Who cares? Shouldn't have had them on your website.
It hasn't any other business.
Listen to me. She's entitled to do that. She doesn't slander you, sir. She says that you have an honest dispute with her. She believes you owe her money, and you are not paying her the money that you owe her. She doesn't say anything scandalous about you. You may not like it, but she doesn't say anything that's actionable.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please explain to me how a school professing to be spiritual and ethical can attempt to steal this money loaned in good faith? That's the way she feels.
Yeah, it wasn't a loan.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something, sir. I am the final arbiter of that, and I'm telling you that it was a loan. It was a loan because you repaid it. And you not only repaid it, you repaid it, some of it out of your funds and some of it out of school funds, which you can't do.
That's not correct.
Listen. Some of the people that you deal with, Mr. LeGrand, may revere you as being some sort of spiritual leader. I guarantee you, I'm not one of those people, all right? I'm telling you, you went on a trip, you slept, you ate, you took a plane, you, not the spirits, your body took the plane to the Philippines and had a nice trip. Pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,697. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I missed an appointment.
I think that he has some talent,
She decided to use that as an excuse to refuse readings and demand money.
but that he needs to work a little bit more on his character.
Oh, I want to have nothing to do with her.
I think he's his own worst enemy, and he's on a self-destructive course.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Schumacher versus Graham. Step forward, please.
Kristen Schumacher is suing family friend, 25-year-old Evan Graham, for the balance on a boat. Evan says Karen sold him a piece of junk.
Ms. Schumacher, you sold the defendant a boat.
I did.
Defendant was somebody that you knew?
Yes.
And you had an arrangement. He gave you a deposit, and he took possession of the boat. He was supposed to pay you the balance in a week or so. He never paid you the balance. You want the balance on the boat.
Correct.
And Mr. Graham says that he relied on your friendship, that this was a good boat. It ended up being a lemon, and you ripped him off, and he's not paying anymore.
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
23.
You work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I own my own plumbing company.
Very good. So you're in business?
Yes.
You deal with contracts, is that right?
Yes.
When did you buy the boat, sir?
It would have been the end of August.
Give me the date.
August 18th.
And that's when you agreed on a price. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
What was the price you agreed on, Mr. Graham?
$3,500.
So there was an offer to sell the boat and an acceptance of the price, correct?
Correct.
Was this a verbal contract?
Yes.
And you gave her a deposit?
Of $800.
And you took possession of the boat?
Correct.
And then what happened, Mr. Graham?
I bring it out to the lake to test drive it, and I wouldn't run.
Why didn't you make an arrangement with Miss Schumacher for a test drive of the boat before you bought it?
Because she was a family friend, so if there was any problems, we could work it out.
Who said that?
It's an assumption.
What did
So,
you do with the boat?
I bring it to a mechanic, spent $1,200.
Just a second. Did you take it out on the 18th? Or did you take it out later?
It might have been the 19th, I don't remember.
Was it the 18th or the 19th?
He purchased it on the 18th. I tabbed and licensed it for him the morning of the 19th. Then he took it from the property about 10 a.m. in the morning, I believe.
On the 19th?
On the 19th.
When did he call and tell you he was having trouble with the boat?
On the 20th.
Okay. And you took it to your mechanic, you put in $1,200.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you were satisfied that it was done?
Yes.
So you took it back to the water. When?
It would have been roughly about a week after I purchased it by the time he was done the work.
So the 27th?
Yeah, roughly. So I bring it back out, and now with it running correctly, I hit the throttle, and the whole transom with the motors mounted to almost broke right off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And the gas tank came completely disconnected and spilled gas all over the floor of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the middle of the lake with a boat full of gas, and the transom's completely cracked.
When was the last time, Mr. Graham, that you drove this boat?
Early September.
No, I'm talking about before you purchased it.
I've never drove the boat in my life before I purchased it.
You purchased the boat. You waited until the boat was titled in your name till the next day. Then you came and got it. You had trouble with it. You buy a used boat. That sometimes happens. You took it to your mechanic. Your mechanic had the boat for an entire week. And I'm not prepared to say that whatever he did to the boat had no causal connection to what the trouble was that you ultimately had with the boat. I don't know, quite frankly. All I know is that you and Ms. Schumacher had a contract, and you have to abide by the terms of that contract. Do you understand?
Not completely, no.
Well, I tried to explain it to you in the most simplistic terms I can. Would you like me to use monosyllables?
No, maybe you could explain the part about if you have a contract and she says it runs good and it's structurally sound and it's not. Doesn't that void a contract?
You have a writing that says that she is selling this boat in good running order, no mechanical problems, and you're buying the boat contingent upon that? Do you have that?
No, it was a verbal contract.
Your verbal contract is the simplistic one, Mr. Graham, because if I were to ask her whether she tells me that she guaranteed to you when you purchased that boat that she said it was structurally sound and mechanically sound, what do you think she's going to tell me?
Your Honor, I did tell him the boat was running well.
You told him it was running well. The last time you rode the boat was when?
The summer before, which would have been the end of August, last week in August.
So you hadn't driven in it.
That's right.
For 1 year.
Right. It was parked for the winter because it's a small ski boat and you don't take it out in winter.
The last time you rode the boat, was it running well?
Ran fine.
Did you know the boat had been sitting there for a year?
Yes.
Out of the water?
Yes.
Mr. Graham, you owe her the money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Homemaker Shelley Krantz is suing her ex-husband, 26-year-old construction worker Thomas Lupersbeck, for 2 separate loans to pay court fines and restitution. Thomas says Shelley has already been paid back.
Yeah, this is case number 454 on the calendar in the matter of Krantz versus Lupersbeck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Krantz, this is your former husband, and according to your complaint, subsequent to your divorce, you made 2 loans to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Both were for court fines or tickets or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
And neither of those loans have been repaid.
No, ma'am.
The defendant says that you did, in fact, advance him the money in form of a loan, and he paid you back. And he says that the second chunk of money that you gave him to pay tickets or something so that he could get his license back was just a gift, and he is also prepared to establish that. So, when were you married and when were you divorced, Ms. Krantz?
We were married on October the 10th of 2003.
And when were you divorced?
The divorce papers are stated April the 27th of 2004.
And when was the first loan?
June the 21st of 2004. And I do have where he signed a note that he would pay me back the money.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. Also attached with that is the way that I proceeded to get the money. He was in jail at the time for not paying fines and restitutions.
Just a second.
Things
One
that he had
second.
stolen.
Shh. Okay, were you in jail in June of 2004?
Most definitely.
When did you get out of jail?
Like the beginning of July. She came and posted a bond for me. It was a $2,200 cash bond.
And you signed this that you owe her $23.33.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to that, you say you paid her back.
Yes, ma'am.
How come you called your former wife for the money? You were divorced?
We were planning on trying to work things out. We've been talking on the phone while I was in jail. I would have been there probably 4 years if I had not made that bond. She was pretty much the only person I knew that would help me.
Okay. So you were pretty desperate.
It was probably more than desperate. I mean, I wanted to be with her and wanted to, be a family again. But I mean, yeah, she was the only place.
What were you in jail for, sir?
I had stolen some things, and I had violated my probation for that by not paying my fines and court costs and all that.
Now, show me, Mr. Lupersbeck, that you paid her back.
What I have is my check stubs that my bosses wrote me for that period of time, and I have my supervisor at the job that was there on 2 occasions. She came and personally got my check. I signed it and she got it. And then when I went back to jail, she picked up my last paycheck, and he can testify that he was there and saw that.
Your Honor, I will state that when we were together, he would contribute to bills but certainly never repaying any of the money that I had loaned him.
Did you ever go and get money from his supervisor?
There was one occasion where I picked up a paycheck. After he had went to jail in August, I picked up an $84 paycheck from his job. He
Only one paycheck?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the only time you went?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Nebojša Kovacevic.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
Were you his supervisor?
Yes, at that time.
Tell me what you know about these paychecks.
I know at 2 occasions that she came on Fridays and he signed the checks, the paychecks, and gave it to her. And the last, when he went to jail, the last paycheck, my brother gave it out to her because he called from jail and told me to give her the last check.
Now, what about the 2 other times that you say you saw him?
Yeah, yes, I saw him sign the paycheck and hand it to her.
Where were you living at the time, sir?
When I got the loan, I got out of jail, moved directly in with Miss Krantz.
How long did you live with her?
It was not very long. You know.
Tell me how long. When did you get out of jail? You got out of jail
it was
in
a month at the longest.
July?
Yes, ma'am, and in August I was back in jail, so it was about 3 weeks.
I made the loan for him on June the 21st. I paid his fines and restitutions to get him out of jail. He could not get out of jail until they were paid.
He was
the very
not,
next
just
day,
a second, he was not living with you at the time?
No, ma'am, he was in jail.
Okay, so then he got out of jail.
And he was arrested for domestic assault the very next day.
On who?
On me.
How long did he live with you after that?
From the time that I made the loan to him to the time that he moved out of my home completely was, I say, about a month, maybe.
And how much money do you claim you gave her, sir, in your paychecks?
Ma'am, since I've known her...
No, I don't care since you know her. I'm talking about for that 1 month.
Every dime it says I made. Since I've known her, I've signed every paycheck I've ever made, and she has deposited in her account.
Listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you.
$2,308. And after I was arrested for domestic assault, my boss came and bonded me out, and I went and stayed with him.
Did he sign his checks over to you, and did they go into a joint account?
No, ma'am. I had my own personal private account. Thomas never was on my account. He was not able to be on my account.
No, that's not what I asked.
Okay. No, ma'am, he did not. No.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a stay-at-home mother. I have a special education child, and I stay at home.
Well, who supports your family?
I get a Social Security check for my son's disability, and I also get alimony from my first 13-year marriage.
Okay. Let me hear about the next loan that you allegedly made to him.
Mr. Lupersbeck got out of jail December the 13th of 2004.
Was that for domestic violence?
It was for a probation violation because of the domestic violence.
Against her?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Mr. Lupersbeck got out of jail on December the 13th, in which he called me, stated that he had nowhere to stay, nowhere to go. He wanted to come back home. I allowed that to happen. I know that he owed me money from before. I figured if I didn't let him come back home and help him...
Don't even say that. You said that in your complaint.
Well, it was...
I don't believe it. When he came back home, did he sleep with you in your bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it was...
Shut! That's not to give him a place to stay. Giving him a place to stay is that he has a pillow and you go sleep on the couch. Letting him come home and share your bed is a totally different thing, Miss Krantz. You know it and I know it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I was just in love, and I was
Well, then you
foolish.
have to say that, you know. I mean, that's clear. You were in love with him?
And I was foolish.
Well, then why are you bothering me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum.
And later today,
I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to be around any negative influences where I know that things are going on.
So why did you go?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Krantz says her ex-husband, Thomas Lupersbeck, owes for 2 loans to pay court fines and restitution. Shelley also says Thomas is an abuser.
Okay, you were foolish, you were in love, you gave him money.
I did.
Then you had a fight, and he probably knocked you around, and you had him incarcerated, and then he was violated again, and then as soon as he got out of jail, you let him come back again in December to your home where you have children. where children are supposed to be peaceful and live in a peaceful, quiet environment?
At that time, my daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father because of the things that had happened between Mr. Lubersbeck and I.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
Well, that's what happens. It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum. Fall in love with a bum, you can lose your whole family.
I realize that.
That would be you.
No, it wouldn't.
You may have a seat, sir. Yeah,
Sure.
that would be you.
Ma'am, I've worked every day since I've met this lady, and I was sleeping in my car before we were married and giving her my paycheck. I don't consider that being a bum so that her and her family can eat.
Just a second, sir. How did she get involved with the arrest that brought you 2 probation violations? Who'd you steal from her?
No, sir, ma'am. It was an employer that was refusing to pay me.
You mean an employer that was refusing to pay you? A judge wouldn't listen to you when you were trying to get your money from that employer? Look at you, Mr. Lubitschek. You can't even keep a straight face.
I didn't even try to go through a court. I just took what I felt he owed me.
Did that ever happen before, Mr. Lubitschek?
No, ma'am.
Never were arrested before?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't have anything to do with that, did she?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So how many times in total, I want you to think? How old are you?
26.
26. So you haven't had that long a life. How many times have you been arrested? Let's say more than 5?
15.
15. So you've been arrested 15 times. And how many times was she involved?
Twice.
Twice out of 50. So 13 times she was not. That makes you a bum.
Sure.
Just because you try to pay your own way and pay a little rent money doesn't make you not a bum. Somebody who's 26 years old has been arrested 15 times is a bum. That's what my grandmother would say.
She's entitled to her opinion.
It's my opinion's the only one who counts here.
Your Honor,
Listen to me, Ms. Krantz. Give me the second loan. He came out of jail in December of 2004. You took him back home. I assume it was at that point your daughter went to your ex-husband or before?
No, ma'am, that was in June.
In June of 2004?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so she had enough of him 6 months before.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's fast forward to December 2004. Go ahead.
He came home. He was placed on intensive state probation. Part of his probation was that he was to get his license back and retain a job. So he asked if I would help him get his license reinstated. He promised me several times that if I paid this for him, that he would pay me back. He informed me that there were 2 tickets that he had to get paid.
All right, so you gave him how much, $800?
It was over $800.
All right, and then what happened after the 15?
Shortly thereafter, we began to argue. Thomas still had a problem finding a job.
And?
We began to argue because he wouldn't get a job and he wouldn't pay me back the money that he owed me. Is
that what you were arguing about?
We were arguing because that's what we do. I guess that was one of the topics of conversation, sure.
Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I went and sat in the living room on the chair, and when the argument continued, I left.
What was she saying to you?
After about the first 10 minutes, I don't even know. I wasn't listening.
Is it possible she was saying to you, you have to get a job because you have to pay me back the money you owe?
She did say that, and that's something that we already knew, but it was wintertime. I frame houses for a living, and framing jobs aren't so easy to find in the wintertime.
Well, this makes my life much easier, because you see what you just said, Mr. Lubersbeck? You said that's what we were arguing about, you know, about the money that I owed her. But, you know, it's not so easy in the wintertime to get a job framing, and that's what I do for a living. So you know what that is, Mr. Lubersbeck?
What is it?
That is an acknowledgement that you owe her money.
Your Honor.
Shut!
Sorry.
That's what it is. You must have been before a lot of dumb judges in your time, sir.
Not that I know of.
Somebody who's been arrested and probably convicted more than half a dozen times, as far as I'm concerned, should probably be in jail forever. Listen to me carefully, sir. Did you give him a W-2 for his taxes?
Your Honor, it's a different form.
It's a different
1099.
Okay, so you gave him a 1099.
Yes, he's got that.
You have a short time to fill out your taxes, sir.
Correct, ma'am. April 15th.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,195. which is the amount requested. I don't believe, Mr. Luberspec, that you paid back this loan. Your final statement to me indicates that the last argument that you had with the plaintiff was over this loan. You decided to tune her out on the 15th of December. I tune you out now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
We can't communicate because both of us are hard-headed and didn't want to listen to the other one.
I'm just very hurt that I gave the defendant so many chances and tried to help him so much, and he still denied the fact that he owed me the money.
I love her very much.
I care about him, but I think I'm going to make smarter decisions from now on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLeish versus Kramer. Step forward.
21-year-old department store manager Ashley McLeish is suing her former friend, retail salesperson Angela Kramer, for her share of a trip to Las Vegas. Angela claims Ashley and her witness coerced her into going.
How old are you, Miss McLeish?
21.
Miss Kramer?
21.
You used to be really good friends, and you claim that Miss Kramer owes you for her share of a trip that the two of you took to Las Vegas.
Correct.
And Miss Kramer says she had a lousy time, right?
Yeah.
And in addition to having a lousy time, she never agreed to pay you back.
That is incorrect.
Miss Kramer, what do you do for a living?
I'm a student in a retail sales.
Where do you work?
I work at Mervyn's.
You live by yourself?
No.
Who do you live with?
I live with my father.
In his house?
Yes.
Miss McLeish, what about you? You're a student?
Yeah, I go to Golden West College, and I'm a retail manager at Mervyn's, and I live with my parents.
Okay, good. Now, you went on vacation?
Yes.
For how long?
3 days.
You were going there for what reason?
Because it was our 21st birthday, so me, her, and my witness wanted to have a good time, and on our 21st birthday, Vegas is like the place to be.
Good. So, you asked her to go with you?
Yes.
She said?
Yes.
And?
So I looked online for prices for hotel and airfare because we wanted to fly there. And after...
Did Miss Kramer say that you should put these charges on your credit card?
I agreed to put it on my credit card, and the agreement was that she would pay me back before we left on August 1st. Your Honor, that's not...
Just a second. She didn't pay you back?
No, she hadn't paid me back.
What did she tell you about paying you back?
She said she'll get back to me. So I figured it was like she'd pay me back when we got back because we're having a great time. We both had fun. We went out to dinner, we went dancing, we went to clubs, we went got VIP everything. We didn't have to pay for anything. And all she did was...
Why not?
Why not? Because the month before we had made a connection. Our friend knows a lot of like security guards, and he knows a lot of bouncers, so we got to get in free. We didn't have to wait in like 2-hour lines to get in the best clubs.
Okay. According to you, you had a good time.
Right.
Came back, she didn't pay.
Right.
Go.
I never agreed to pay. When she said that the hotel, the price of it, I said that's way too high, and I'd rather just stay at my family's house because I can stay there for free.
So why didn't you?
Because when I told them that, they said, just don't worry about it.
Shh. And somebody dragged you on the plane?
Well, you know, it's my 21st birthday. I was trying to distance myself anyways, and that's why...
I'm asking you, somebody dragged you on the plane?
No.
Well, if you didn't want to go, why did you go?
Because they said just don't worry about the costs.
Well, why would you think that they would take you away on vacation?
Because that's what they said.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
I actually have pictures, if I could show you, of her having a good time dancing.
I don't care whether she had a good time or whether she had a lousy time. It's irrelevant to me.
Your Honor, I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to go with them. And when they said, just come on, please go, I decided, fine, I'll go. Because they said, don't worry about any of the costs, don't worry about anything,
Your Honor,
just
may I
go.
say something, please?
Step up. Tell me your name.
My name is Lori Irigoyen. And we spoke to her the night before we left, and she said, yeah, she couldn't afford it. But then we said, okay, we've still put it on a credit card. You need to pay us back, or you need to pay Ashley back. She didn't want to do that. Well, you can't.
Well, what did she say?
She said, no, I don't have to pay you back. If I don't go, I shouldn't have to pay you back.
Exactly.
Why did you call the night before?
Because I had talked to them recently before that also, because what I was doing was I was talking to my backgrounds investigator, and when I was going through looking at the lie detector test and polygraph...
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Well,
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
What it is I'm going for a future career in the criminal justice, and so I was talking to a backgrounds investigator, and she was showing me the polygraph test that you would have to be taking, and it had to ask questions about your friends and what you know about your friends. and that can make you fail and make it so you can't get into a premier area.
So?
So I
Just
had
a minute,
this,
please.
I had decided that I didn't want to be around any negative influences where I know that things are going on.
So why did you go?
Because I made a mistake. I thought...
Good. Yeah, that's what you say. You say, I made a mistake. And when you make a mistake, what do? Pay! Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $296.45.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Alicia Guajardo is suing her sister, Isabel Guajardo, for the return of a TV and a loan to pay her rent. Isabel claims it's Alicia who owes her.
Your Honor, this is case number 83 on the calendar in the matter of Guajardo versus Guajardo.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
What's your first name?
Alicia. Isabel.
You two are sisters.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, Alicia, your sister owes you some money.
Correct.
And she owes you some money from a small loan that you made to her. And she has some property, TV and electronics, that you claim she retained after you moved out. You moved into her house when you were down on your luck. Your sister took you in. She allowed you to remain in her house July, August, September, and October, about 4 months. And then there was a major falling out, and you claim she unceremoniously told you to leave, keeping your property. Your sister says that you owe her for rent, that you gave her the electronic equipment, which was a television set, because you had not paid rent as agreed. She is counterclaiming for the unpaid rent, and that's it. How many sisters are there?
There's 5 girls.
I gather from your complaint that you don't get along with your other sisters now.
No, I don't.
And you haven't for a while, is that right?
Right.
Is that because you have a problem?
I think that we all have problems.
You have particular problems?
Just we have a love-hate relationship.
Do you work?
Yes.
Who do you work for?
I work for a temporary agency, and I just finished school as a massage therapist.
Who are you living with now?
I live with a friend.
You have children?
I have a son.
How old?
13.
Does he live with you?
No, right now he is staying in Woodland with friends. We were homeless because my sister wouldn't take us in after I helped her pay her rent. So I had to take my son to a friend's house where he could be in school. And,
are these your two sisters?
Yes.
Two of your sisters?
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling there's a lot more to this story, but I don't have time to hear it because it doesn't necessarily relate to this. The TV, tell me about it.
I had taken my TV to my sister's home.
When you moved in July?
Correct. And after we had a falling out because I was going to stay with my other sister, which she had asked me if she found a home, did I want to come with her? She got angry, and she said I owed her money for back pay. I helped her take care of her children, cleaned her home. She told me since I owed her rent that she was keeping my TV.
Okay. And tell me about this alleged loan. Your sister said there was no loan. You never gave her any money. Tell me about that.
Okay. Anyways, my sister came to me and told me that she went to a casino where she had lost all her money, gambling, her rent money. She was in tears, and I told her I would try to help her. At that time, I filed my income tax, and I lent her $700. I told her I would help her even after I wasn't welcomed in her home a week or two before that. But, you know, I love my sister, and they always dog me. They always give me the short end of the stick, you know. I came back and helped her, even though I wasn't welcomed in her home.
All right. Your sister moved in July.
That's correct.
Was this the first time she'd moved in with you?
No, she's lived with me on and off a lot. And if it wasn't her, it was her son. I've always had her son. I've always taken care of her child. And I agreed to let her come in because she just lost her job. She was getting ready to lose her apartment. She wouldn't go to work. I even offered her one of my vehicles to go to work. She wouldn't go to work. And as far as taking care of my children...
No. Just to answer my questions. I might ask you to respond to that part of what she says. She moved in July because she was about to become homeless. Was her son living with her at the time?
He was staying with me.
Had he already been with you?
Yes, I lived next door to my sister, so he was going back and forth from my house to her house. She never had him.
Oh, please.
Okay. What was the financial arrangement? When she moved in, she wasn't working.
That's correct. She was doing massages on the side. She was kicked out of school, so she had to work under somebody else's license, and she wouldn't even get up to go to that job, and she had gotten fired. from the last person she was working with. So we had agreed that when she got back on her feet, she would pay me $500 a month. My sister was there.
I never agreed
Sylvia
to
was
that.
there.
I'm sorry.
Well, then let me deal with the rent part of your counterclaim. She never got back on her feet. If what your contract was with her was when you start working and get back on your feet, you can pay me $500 a month rent, which is what you just told me.
Correct.
She never got on her feet.
Because she didn't want to.
Whatever.
Okay.
That's something that you knew. So she doesn't owe you any money for rent. Now, let's talk about the TV.
She told my sister, Sylvia, and she also told me too, to just go ahead and keep the TV as part of payment for staying there to go towards the money that she had owed me.
Okay. I buy that. If she didn't pay any rent all during the 4 months that she lived with you, not such a big deal to keep the television set. Now, let's talk about the $700 loan that she says she gave you. You have any proof that you gave her this loan?
I have my income tax. I wasn't able to get the receipt. I didn't have her sign anything. Lesson learned. But she asked me if she could borrow the money. I just cashed the check.
How much was the check for?
It was for $1,120.05. It was my income tax return.
And how much did you give her?
$700 in cash.
Okay. And you kept $400 for yourself?
Correct.
What did you do with it?
Well, I saved a little bit, and then we went gambling. And
who went gambling?
Her and I went to the casino that day.
Did you lose it?
So, most of it, yeah.
I don't lose when I go to the casino. I have proof right here.
Okay.
I win all the time when I go.
That's why you had to borrow $700 to pay your rent.
No, I did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What appalls me is that people of the state of California give you money because you were in dire straits, and you take that money and go to a casino. That, madam, is outrageous.
And later today...
You have respect for yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I don't know why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alicia Guajardo claims her sister, Isabel Guajardo, owes for the return of a TV and a loan. Isabel is countersuing, claiming Alicia never paid rent when she lived with her.
Now, my question to you, Alicia, is
Yes.
if you didn't pay rent for the 4 months that you lived with your sister and didn't pay for utilities, who bought the food in the house?
I did.
Both of us did, Your Honor.
From what money?
I was getting assistance at the time, and so
What
was
kind of
she,
assistance?
From the state of California.
How much were you receiving from the state of California?
It was like $130 in food stamps and.
Well, if you weren't working and if you weren't contributing regularly to the household for 4 months and all it cost you was $700 in a TV, doesn't sound like very much. Son was living there too?
Can I say something, please, Your Honor? I paid her back when we went to the casinos several times. I would hit a jackpot, and she's right there. And she even told me, you don't owe me anything after this, because we were even fair and square. And she said she gave me a vehicle to drive. She would take that vehicle, would say, oh, I need to go somewhere or whatever, and the car would just sit there. Well, whatever. Anyways, I paid her above and beyond for rent. She's even said that at the casinos. I can't even enjoy a jackpot when we go.
I want to tell you something. You know what offends me, Alicia?
I'm sorry.
Let me tell you what offends me.
Okay.
What offends me is that the people of the state of California give you money because you need money to survive. That's what you tell them. And you take that money and go to a casino.
No, Your Honor, that's not what I do.
Hey, Alicia, that's what you just told me. You said I went to the casino, I hit jackpots, I gave her money more than covered rent, and I asked you, how do you support yourself? Stop speaking.
Okay.
And you say, I got aid. And honestly, what appalls me is that the people of the state of California give you money because you were in dire straits, and you take that money and go to a casino. That, madam, is outrageous. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Your Honor.
Out.
Parties are excused.
Words. Whatever. I've cleaned my life up. I'm off aid. I'm working.
Those income tax papers that she had was probably from 3 years ago because she hasn't worked in 2 years.
I didn't take that money for the state of California to go to the casino.
She wants me to continue taking care of her as I always have.
I don't abuse the system.
She's just always
trying to get someone to take care of her, and I think she came here for attention.
My sister is a very hateful, miserable person.
We just got to take it day by day, and hopefully all this can get resolved and we get back to normal.
I just pray for her. I love her anyways.
I don't have a future with her. As far as I'm concerned, she's no longer my sister.
I want her out of my life. You know, that's sad to say. That is my sister.
I don't have a sister.
Maybe we can go to counseling. Maybe I should have asked for her to rule us to go to counseling.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Crow versus Maupins, step forward, please.
21-year-old April Crow is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Omari Maupins, for a down payment on a Jeep, as well as other payments she made on his behalf.
Miss Crow, it is your claim that the defendant, who was your boyfriend for a period of time, owes you some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Claim that you loaned him the down payment for a car. You were supposed to make the payments.
Yes, ma'am.
You broke up. You made some payments yourself, then you had the car repossessed because you could no longer make the payments.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Maupin says you took back the car. It's your problem. So, let's see if he's right.
Okay.
Now, when did you purchase this car, Mr. Maupins?
I believe it was November.
November
05.
2005.
Yes.
And how much money did Miss Crow give you?
It was about between $1,500 and $1,800.
You mean for the down payment?
For the down payment, yes, ma'am.
When were you supposed to pay her back?
Monthly.
Did you make any payments?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How many did you make?
I don't know. We were working together, also dating. So as they came in, I just made payments to her.
Made payments to her or to the loan company where you had the car from?
To her.
How much did you give her?
As much as I could at the time. It was a weird situation because right as the car was bought, I lost my job and was
Okay, so
not able
in
to make the
November,
payments.
you bought the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you lost your job.
Yes.
When did the two of you break up?
Around the end of December, close to January.
So you had the car for a month?
For a month, and I made the first payment on that car.
Okay. What date did you break up?
I don't remember the exact date. It was around the end of December. It was before Christmas.
When did you take the car back?
The car stayed at his house until January 18th of 2006. At that time, he got kicked out of the place where he was staying, and he had nowhere to store the vehicle. He and I were on speaking terms. We were still getting along. We were still dating. We had broke up for a period of time, and then we started dating again. He parked the car at my house with his stuff inside the car. The reason the car was parked at my house is because there was no insurance on it, because Mr. Maupins would not put insurance on it.
You co-signed on this loan?
I co-signed on the car. The loan is only in my name.
How long had you known him before you did this stupid thing?
We've known each other for about 4 years now.
Well, how long were you dating?
8 months.
We were only dating 2 months before the buying of the car occurred.
Why in the world would you let her put a loan for a car for you in her name?
She offered it. You know, she came to me, she asked me why I was trying to, get another job so bad. I told her I was trying to save up to get a car. She came to me and she said, well, I can go to a loan place tomorrow and, get you a down payment on the car. Of course, I accepted.
Why?
Because it made my life easier having a car to get around, to go to work and stuff, basically.
Ugh. You have respect for yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I don't know why. Shh. I don't know why. You just stuck her with a big bill.
I don't look at it that way.
Well, how do you look at it, Mr. Maupins?
Well, when we were together, I was helping her make the payment.
Listen. You had the car for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. And you lost your job probably because of some stupid thing that you did.
The stupid thing occurred because of her.
She did a stupid thing, you lost your job. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't even want to know.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The car is now on my credit with the repossession.
Listen, you should have been smarter.
I agree.
You should have been smarter.
I agree.
What do you want me to do? The guy's a big baby.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. April Crow claims ex-boyfriend Omari Maupins owes for the down payment as well as missed payments on a Jeep. Omari says April repossessed the vehicle.
Now, 4 weeks you had the car, and she stuck with the bill. Oh, about 4.
ठीक ही फिटी खैर है तबीयत से ठीक है खैर खरियत है फिट पई खैर वी जंद वीडियो थे हाल काम ना बिड़दा पे काम ते ना ठीक है लगा पे काम चलदा पे है यार चलो माशाल्लाह इम्मा ते उधर आऊंगा ही रेडी पई मंडी वाले पास ही यार रेडी पेंदे उस्ताद कालू दे इकट्ठे वदई
साथ तो लगे पे
ना हिम्मत चंगा चंगा या तो यार तेरा वाला या दूर बाज बुडो भलाए में या
हां वाला
दूर बाज तो भलाए में दो जोना 2 महीने तराए लाए थी उडई कशे नहीं थी लिखा लई ओए आगे देखो दा काम इडे वेन कीते मी भला जरे अते को खां खर्चा पानी कढे मी खा पी कर गया वा मैं के मरे हूं गोई ने विठाई नामे बता बेहतर बता में
ताए ता के गड़ड़ी बात के ओसी
गंडड़ी मैं ही में समझी पिया मैं तो बोरे दा बाला जल्ली पिया मी चिट्टे दा वेली बोरा भरे समझदा ये हाल नहीं दा और भाई कदे साकू साड़ी पे सड़िया यार बड़ा रक्षा उनाई में धक्का धक धक्का धक लई करे
रक्षा वाला खत्म जाओ
रक्षा को उजाड़ी पे उन गाड़ी में 100 सीसी दी बुले ना कोई रात करे ना 100 सीसी दी
गाड़ी दी गोलो ने वासे
ना प्यारा कहनी गाड़ी दे अलावा कोई हाल कहनी
तुसा ही ना हिकलिंगे मुंड कढो चंगा है
मैं तो ही अपना ही ना मुंड कटदा वा मैं ना दुबई वाले पासे करा रहा ना पासपोर्ट बच्चा पे ना हां 4-5 महीने बच्चा पे ना भला मैं ना नम्मा बने सी एक ने लिखता वे थी तो ये मजा नहीं आना ना इनके पासपोर्ट ते भला वीजा लग सी वाती सो दे वाला कंडे कढने आवे थे नवा पासपोर्ट हो सी उड़ाओ पीछे निकल वे थी अच्छा ब्याह कोई हाल दा अच्छा फिर पई खैरे तेरा पासपोर्ट आवे ते को पठेना वा सन्नी को पठेना वा
सन्नी दा पासपोर्ट साल बच गए
सन्नी दा बच गई इधरे साल मैं दादा आदा मेरी नाल बने मेरा कुट्टी कड्डी जुलो मेरे हमसाए दा कुट्टी कड्डी जुलो ना
ए वादाला
हां ई को तो मैं नाल जुला मैं
ओए रोले दी गरीब को
मरना विंजे मैं गया तो आई अल्लाह दा बंदा
दूर ना हो जा ओ कुने को नाल मरने
खोसा ना दा मेरा वो बा हमसाया जरा एक तो मैं जल्दी पे हमसाया जरा एक तो है मेरा
लशारी हां ओ नहीं मेरा
अल्लाह काट जुले दी गोदाई को अल्लाह ई पाकिस्तान दे का दोनों काट जुले उड़ाई या एक पीछे बॉर्डर ते खड़ा था बम संभाल थे
ए वो तो तू वैसे तक खुला थी वैसे
हां ये आ तो जुले में ना मेरे इकट्ठे में को पूजे ले ले आदे मैं इतनी पौड़िया मरे ना मी इतनी पौड़िया मरे ना मी जना अभी वदा पौड़ी है न प्याउता
हां सऊदी
हां सऊदी आदे मैं इतनी दौर दी पौड़ी मरे ना मी इतनी दौर दी पौड़ी मरे ना मी अल्लाह को घेन जुले में ना वे पौड़ी है न प्या वे बिल्ड गई है न प्या वो सब वैसी हर शय है भाई
हर शय
हां मुंडे दे रख दे मेरे नाल जुले हां अच्छा दा दुआ कर मैं सन्नी को देते को पहले पठान काले छोड़ पहले पठान पीछे ना आप पीछे पहले मैं निमी में ना पहले तोड़ा थारे ना कुटा कढा बोला मैं अपने हमसाए कोने सा नाल अपने मेरे हुआ से
वीजा कोई अपने मार के गुलवारे पैसे गोली बता मैं
वीजा सऊदी दा कि नहीं हां ना सऊदी ने बेहतर दुबई अल्लाह
दुबई बंद जो है ना यार
दुबई दा वीजा खुलिया पे मैं बंद आ गया वीजा खोल वे सेंटर
बंद है वीजा बंद है
वीजा बंद कर देने वाला ना यार जालिम में भी जालिम बन गए ना जिडो किडो जुल्म की थी पे ना
नहीं भी जाने दे
अच्छा आओ अदा आओ मेरा बिया मैं को काम ते लाओ कि ता यहां एक भाई मैं ता मट्ठा माड़ा लगा पे काम ते की चास नहीं आनी काम ने बगैर
तू प्रदेश चले जी सऊदी
मैं को प्रदेश चास नहीं दे पूरा कहीं तरह में मैं ना प्रदेश है तो मैं बिया की ता ही ना प्रदेश चंगा मेरे की 4 मिनट उते होवे भी जा 4 मिनट 2-3 मिनट मसला कहनी 4 मिनट ते गा विने बंद कर रही कोई गाल नहीं अच्छा क्या
चुप
सेट रह गई इमा ज्यादा धोप शॉप लवाना बिना वो भी खाना बिना
गोभी रेड है गए
अच्छा मैं ना गोभी